three. It's going around a bit. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On air.
Hello and welcome to a Solent Sports News special.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome to a Solent Sports News special. We're live for the next 2.5 hours where our panel will be discussing sports from across the world as well as previews for tomorrow's football matches and also live updates from tonight's Premier League clash between Wolves and Liverpool. I'm your presenter, Harry Eden, joined by a talented panel of journalists with Jacob Tanswell, Ryan Honey and Ollie Johnson, here to discuss all things sport tonight. Hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good, thanks, Harry. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. So Liverpool have a big test on their hands tonight, and they're heading to Molineux to play a Wolves side massively out of form. Tonight we have our panellist Ollie Johnson covering the fixture.
Wolverhampton Wanderers look to push higher up the table tonight as they host Liverpool in what is surprisingly a mid-table clash. Nuno Espirito Santo's side will want to make the most of the visitors' poor form, with the Reds coming in with only 3 wins in the league in 2021. The defending champions are in desperate need of points if they want to qualify for Europe, but Jurgen Klopp insists all is not lost yet for his team.
What we have to show now is kind of consistency, obviously, to the consistency in a performance way, in a defending way, and then obviously we have 1 foot in the game already. If we can do that, and then if we can build on that, then we have a chance to win a football game.
Wolves will look to bounce back to winning ways as they also have 3 league wins since the new year. The Wanderers have been without star striker Raul Jimenez since November and have found scoring goals a big issue. The Mexican won't be involved tonight, but it is understood he is back training with protective headgear after being knocked unconscious against Arsenal earlier in the season. It is likely that new signing Willian Jose will keep his place in the team, with the manager keeping faith in his squad.
We must sustain our levels of performance throughout the game, since the beginning till the end of the game, knowing that we always face very tough opponents, that you have to take in consideration. Sometimes it's not only what you are not able to do, but what your opponent forces you to do.
All game updates will be brought to you live and as they happen by your Solent sports reporter, Ollie Johnson.
Newport County hope to extend their winning run tomorrow night with an away trip to Port Vale.
On Newport straight away.
So Ollie, with Raul Jimenez's absence, do you think Wolves can still get a point or more against Liverpool?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Looking at their lineup as well, Liverpool are going with a pretty new centre-back partnership in Nat Phillips and Kabak. Kabak's obviously a new signing. Phillips, a young player, wasn't even anywhere near the team a year or so ago. I think he was on loan in Germany, so it'll be an interesting partnership, see how they get on tonight. As we said in the package, Willian Jose is keeping his place in the side, and Adama Traore is going to be attacking the wings. Alexander Arnold's going to have a long night in for him tonight. Starting in goal though, Rui Patricio, as always, is in goal. Saiz Bolly, Cody starting at the back with Semedo and Castro wing backs. Ruben Neves and João Moutinho in midfield. Pedro Neto and of course Adama and Willian Jose. The other end, Alisson again, he needs a big game, a little bit of poor form at the minute. Trent on the right, Nat Phillips, Kabak as mentioned in the centre, Robertson as always on the left, Thiago Alcantara, Fabinho and Wijnaldum in the middle, with Mo Salah, Sadio Mane on the wings and Diego Jota playing against his old team up front.
Yes, so with Jacob, with the attack of Liverpool, still with Mane and Salah, obviously without Roberto Firmino, do you think Klopp should still be looking to get all 3 points as he does desperately need them?
Well, he does need them, exactly. But obviously this season, despite Mohamed Salah being the top scorer in the league, and, in terms of the goal stats, he's up there, isn't he? But you look at the overall performance of the front three and they're not functioning correctly. You've heard this week there's reports that Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane don't get on anymore. Roberto Firmino, his finish has been inconsistent this season. And I just look at Liverpool's front three and it's reflective of the whole side and all their fortunes. It's unstable, it's it's not clicking, it's not functioning correctly, and this is a great opportunity now to get their season back on track.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, we've got Pedro Neto up against quite an inexperienced Liverpool defence. Don't you think that will give him a good push on to get a few goals tonight?
Yeah, he's a good player, Pedro Neto. He's really come on leaps and bounds this season for Wolves. He's only 20, 21 years of age. He's got his whole career ahead of him, and he's putting down a real landmark performances, really, to really nail down that starting spot for Wolves. I mean, 1 goal in his last 5 appearances, not the best, but Wolves haven't really been in the best of form. 2 wins in their last 7 games. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity for him. It will come up against Alexander-Arnold on the down the left-hand side. And he will try and exploit him. He's not the best defensively this season, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Neto will definitely look to exploit that.
Ryan, you mentioned, sorry, can I just interrupt? You mentioned 1 goal in 5 games. Remember that goal was against Southampton, and that was an unbelievable goal. So although he's young, he does have these moments of just excellence. And for me, against Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think that's a matchup that's really going to be important in deciding, the overall complexion of this game.
Yeah, definitely. It should definitely show. Obviously, Trent, we know he can attack and he can always get assists, but tonight we will see if he can indeed do it both ways and actually defend well against a tricky winger. Also, Andy Robertson would definitely have his work cut out with Adama Traore. Obviously, not had a goal or an assist in 2020, so he'll definitely be looking to get one tonight. Ollie, do you think he can pick up, obviously against a tough opponent in Andy Robertson? Do you think he can do anything?
He's one of them players. You've seen him rub baby oil on his arms and need to try and beat defenders so they can't grab hold of him. Robertson is probably one of the tougher Liverpool defenders if you look at maybe physicality-wise. He's quite a little guy, but he puts a big tackle in. He's not. So, somebody like Adama Traore is probably a perfect matchup really there, and I think it'd be interesting to see how he gets on tonight. Yeah,
I think Adama Traore always does more than just his assists and goals. It's always his running in behind that goes a bit unnoticed to fans, but no, definitely be a handful tonight for Liverpool. So, lads, I want to discuss some of the fixtures from across the weekend. Obviously, on Saturday, we had league leaders Manchester City beat Fulham 3-0. Outstanding performances everywhere, but John Stones picks up another goal. Bit early to say. Well, not early to say, obviously quite far into the season, but definitely putting a case for himself as should be in team of the season. Jacob?
Yes, for sure. And also, he's making a great case to be in the starting 11 for England, isn't he? You look at Gareth Southgate, and at the moment, it seems like he's playing 7 or 8 at the back, the way they play at the moment. So have a John Stones who's on form, but also he's trustworthy nowadays. He's not making these mistakes. He's built up a great partnership with Ruben Diaz. And when you've got a fully fit, fully concentrated John Stones, he's arguably the best centre-back in England or in the England team.
Definitely. Yeah. And obviously, as you mentioned then, Ruben Diaz, how key has he been to John Stones' development this season since Ruben Diaz has come in? Obviously only young, but it seems he's taught John Stones a lot.
He has, and Ruben Diaz has been talked about for a number of years. I think Manchester United were linked with him a couple of years ago, and the price that Man City got him, although he wasn't even the first choice target, I think it's Koulibaly that was the first choice. So to get Ruben Diaz, and he was initially supposed to partner Laporte, wasn't he? So it's a bit of a surprise that he's now partnering John Stones, and he's now playing on the left-hand side of central defence. But he's a really, really good signing, and for £50 million, it looks a really, really good deal.
Yeah, it does look like an absolute bargain now. We'll stay on Saturday. So the biggest upset probably of the weekend was Everton losing to Burnley 2-1, Ryan.
Sorry, who was that? I never quite caught that.
Burnley losing 2-1 at home to Burnley beating Everton at home. Bit of a shock, bit of an upset. Do you think Burnley have enough to survive this season after watching that performance?
Well, I think so. I mean, after watching Sean Dyche's team over the years, they always seem to be able to grind out results, and they don't play the most flattering football, to say the least. But the Everton, the performance against Everton was actually pretty good. I mean, they could have gone 3-4-0 up by the time Calvert-Lewin did eventually pull one back for Everton. Dwight McNeil looked sharp. He obviously scored a very good goal, and there were some very key performances from the Burnley players in what could be a pivotal moment in their season. A win against high-flying Everton could really, kickstart some momentum and get them away from that drop.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also had Leeds-Chelsea, which ended 0-0, which is a shock for Leeds, a team that does normally score quite a lot. Ollie, what went wrong against Chelsea?
It's a weird one. I'm all right saying Patrick Bamford came off injured in the Chelsea game, which isn't
yes, early on.
Quite early on, 35th.
That's a major effect because he's been in a real goal scoring form, considering it's his first really full season in the Prem. He had various loan moves earlier on in his career, but none of them really went to plan. So, that's probably what happened. And I think also I really like Chelsea's defence. I think Reece James is a fantastic player. It was also interesting to see today that England under 21 squad was announced for the upcoming fixtures and his name wasn't in it. It's probably looking likely he's going to be called up by Southgate to the senior squad, which I think he can play centre back, he can play right wing back, he can play various different positions. I think he'll be a key figure in Chelsea's team for years to come as well.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously learning under Azpilicueta, who is a right back as well, captain as well, is obviously great for him to learn. And he should definitely be pushing on for an England spot, but obviously with a team full of right backs, Gareth will still be looking at him, definitely. And then on Sunday, we've had the North London derby, quite an exciting one. One of the goals of the season, Jacob.
Oh, for sure. And I don't think the commentary did it justice, did it? It's arguable. You always look for different types of goals, don't you? Every season, if you remember a couple of years ago, you had Giroud's scorpion kick. Just these different types of goals you don't see every day. And I think Lamella's was that. He obviously did it in the Europa League about 7 years ago, I think. So he has got the Rabona in his locker, but it was excellent. To do it on that stage as well in the North London derby just made it even better.
Definitely. Yeah, it seems like he would rather do a Rabona than use his right foot, but... But it was a good game. Do you feel Arsenal deserved to win it, Ryan?
I did. I thought Arsenal were excellent from start to finish, and I thought it was very much against the run of play really when Spurs did take the lead through Eric Lamela. Although it was a very good goal, they had a 5-minute spell midway through the first half, Spurs, and they took advantage of it. And Lamela obviously took his goal very well. Rabona finished across Leno through the legs of Thomas Partey. But then Arsenal, they reacted very well and got themselves back in the game relatively quickly and through Odegaard and then deservedly went on to win the game through a Lacazette penalty. Did I think it was a penalty? I thought it was harsh, personally. However, in the end, I think the better team definitely won. Yeah,
I would agree. It's more defensive issues which are letting down Tottenham, which is a surprise, obviously, with Mourinho, likes to be defensive. Ollie, what would you say is the main defensive problem they would have?
I think probably more so at the start of the season, it was probably the lack of depth defensively with solid centre-backs. They had injuries and suspensions, and the likes of Tangana and Joe Rodon had to play a few games. And they're only young players, and it was good for their experience. But, they're not the solid players like your Alderweireld, Tongan, Summer. They're big names to be missing out in the team at the minute. So I think that's probably what the issue was. I don't think there's much wrong going forward. I think they've probably got one of the best attacks in the league, realistically. In Kane and Son, and when Bale's on his day, he's unbelievable. So, I think purely just the lack of depth in their defence.
Yeah, because at the start of the season, they were obviously pushing for the league, and a few people did fancy them, but just fallen off a bit recently. But so we've also got another team that are doing really well at the moment. A team that have been plagued with injuries, but seem to just take it in their stride. Is Leicester. Brendan Rodgers doing a fantastic job over there. Obviously winning 5-0 against Sheffield United. Jacob, did you see that one?
I didn't see that one, but I thought you were going to say Southampton. But obviously they're not doing very well.
Not.
Yeah, but when I look at Leicester, they just look such a balanced team, don't they? You look at that midfield with Tielemans and Ndidi, Maddison. They all know their jobs. They've got a good coach who's got a clear philosophy. They've been together for a while now, and they're all young as well. They've managed to kind of secretly overhaul that Premier League winning side, and they've come a lot younger, haven't they? Fofana's come in, he's done brilliantly. Harvey Barnes has come back from loan from West Brom a couple of years ago. He's doing really well. So they've got a team. If they can stay together, they could be top 4 contenders for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. It just shows the good job that Brendan Rodgers has done. It does
Definitely.
seem like every signing he's brought in has hit the ground running straight away with like Tillemans, Ndidi, Fofana. So you have to give a lot of credit to Brendan Rodgers, definitely. But also the team they're playing, Sheffield United, not looking good for them this season, sadly. Ryan, do you think there's anything they can do to stay up?
I don't. I think it's all doom and gloom for them, especially after Chris Wilder walked away, was sacked. Who knows? I mean, something's gone on there, and I mean, Paul Heckingbottom's come in. I mean, he's got a hell of a job on his hands to try and keep them in the Premier League. And do I think it's too much, too little, too late? I think so. I mean, they're 10, 15 points or adrift now of safety. So too little, too late, in my opinion.
Yeah, sadly. It's a shame for Chris Wilder, obviously being a lifelong Sheffield United fan. It's obviously very sad for Sheffield United fans, but it does seem like it is an enormous task. And then to the last fixture of yesterday, we had Manchester United and West Ham. Man United obviously pushing for the league, which they've not had for a long time. Obviously only ended 1-0 against the high-flying West Ham. Do you think West Ham did deserve a point, Ollie?
I think it's always unlucky when you concede an own goal, especially against a team like Man United. You go to Old Trafford, it's always going to be a tough place to play, whether it's fans or not, especially in the form Man United have been this season. And I think a lot of people probably fancy West Ham to go and do a job on them. But yeah, extremely unlucky, but it doesn't put anything past what United are doing. They're doing very well in Europe. They're still in the FA Cup as well, so they've got a good chance of getting a trophy and more than possibly getting the Champions League next year. Yeah,
should definitely be pushing Champions League. They're in a good position to potentially get second if they can beat Leicester to it, because you'd imagine City are going to run away with it at this point. And so Jacob, obviously not a great subject at the moment, but Saints losing 2-1 at home to Brighton. I'm sure you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm quite glad that you made me ask this question. Listen, I think probably the most disappointing game of Southampton's season. Obviously, everyone can talk about the 9-0, but in terms of Southampton's application in that second half, I think they thought they were winning. They're losing to Brighton, who are below them in the table. Who's it's a game that Southampton have targeted. They dropped players from the Man City game 3 or 4 days before that. They needed points in this game, and how passive they were, completely against what Ralph Hasenhutl's Southampton's team is usually about. They were passive. They looked lack of urgency, and the body language just looked really poor. It was just a really, really somber day. And Southampton have got a couple of huge games now. They've got West Brom, they've got Burnley, and if they don't take a couple of 3 or 4 points out of them to a minimum, then they are going to get dragged down into a relegation fight. And who would have thought that at the start of the year when they beat Liverpool and everyone's saying that we're going to get top 8? It's a real fall from grace, and Southampton need this season to finish.
They do. Yeah, like you say, the fall from grace. You wouldn't have expected this at all from when we were sat in first place. But yeah, but obviously Brighton, great win for them on the road against kind of a derby. Brighton side. Brighton
were technically excellent, weren't they? You saw that second goal. It's just wow. And
yeah,
we can talk about it all the time, but Brighton, the way they play sometimes with their technical players, they deserve. If they could score, they would be so higher up the table, wouldn't they?
Oh, looking at their team, you would think that they'd be a bit higher up, but see, they do get unlucky. But, do you think if Brighton were to go down, a few of their players would get nabbed? Someone like Neil Maupay, Ryan?
I think so. Maybe not the likes of Neil Maupay. I mean, has he proved himself to be a consistent performer in the Premier League? I don't think so. However, you look at the likes of Yves Bissouma, Adam Webster, maybe Lewis Dunk. I think they all come into the category where if they are to have slipped out of the Premier League, those are the sorts of players that Premier League clubs would be after, because they're top performers for Brighton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then we've also got the Liverpool Wolves game kicking off in about 5 minutes, where we can give you live updates. So the last 5 minutes before then, we should talk about our England lineup for the Euros coming up. So we'll start with Jacob. Jacob, goalkeeper, who do you think's best?
I think it has to be Dean Henderson or Nick Pope at the moment. I think Jordan Pickford in a big tournament, he just flaps all the time. He doesn't look like he's in control of his emotions. I think teams, especially international teams, will target him because he's not the biggest, is he? He hasn't got the biggest frame. And I think from corners, especially teams such as France, who are powerhouses, they are going to dominate in that area. And I think you need Dean Henderson or Nick Pope. You could argue Nick Pope probably because he's getting regular first-team football. We see how Dean Henderson and De Gea go until the end of the season. But for me, I think you've got to rule Jordan Pickford out of that conversation.
Do you not feel that's a bit harsh to Pickford, as he's not made too many mistakes in an England shirt, and what he has done for us in an England shirt?
No, you are correct, but I just think he always looks like he's got a mistake in him, hasn't he? You've seen with Everton in the last 18 months. He's inconsistent. He's hesitant sometimes, and I just feel, although he's probably the best ball-playing goalkeeper, I wouldn't have him in a major tournament. I think, judging from a centre-back point of view, I think you'd rather have Nick Pope, who comes out and claims everything 6'6", and then Jordan Pickford, who doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. So Ryan, before we move on to other positions, what formation would you choose? Obviously, Gareth Southgate has experimented with a few different ones, a bit more defensive recently, which fans haven't liked. But what would you go with?
Well, I mean, Southgate looks set on the three at the back and the wing backs, and going at it like that. But me personally, we've got so many attacking options. I think it'd be foolish not to get as many of them on the pitch at one time as possible. I mean, you got the likes of Grealish, Foden, Rashford, Sterling, Kane. I think there's too many options there to have on your bench, because obviously you're not going to be able to utilise all of them. I think we need to get away from this three at the back formation. I think it just shows how we're not confident enough to play four at the back with the defenders we have at our disposal. We'd rather chuck another defender in there just to try and shore things up. But I think that would definitely be the wrong way to go about things when we have these players. We do. Yeah,
definitely. So, Ollie, what would you go for defensively?
Well, I think, like I said it just now, probably starting at right back at the minute. Reece James, for me, I just think he's a real player. And then there's a big call leaving, the likes of Trippier and Alexander-Arnold, etc.
Walker Peters.
Yeah, well, never know. Mate, you never know. I think he's one of them players that it would be foolish not to at least have him in the squad. It might not, he probably wouldn't even start, but to have him there because he can fill in for injuries. He's a fast, strong lad as well, so he'd be good for me. I do echo what Ryan said though. I think with the squad, in most other international squads, probably especially for the British nations, you're playing three at the back, the wing backs. That works. But with England and the attacking options, like Ryan said, it'd be foolish not to utilise that. You've got, especially in the midfield, there's so many players to choose from up front as well. Like, Southgate's got the world at his feet with players at the minute. So maybe change it up a bit and go into the Euros with a bit more attacking intensity. But you've got to then decide if you're going to have defenders, which defenders you're going to have. You're going to need some that defend. It's all well and good having defenders to score goals, but if you're going to concede 5 in a match, then there's no point having them, is there? So.
Yeah. Gareth would definitely have a headache on his hands for the amount of right backs England do possess. So Ryan, what would you, for the two centre backs or three centre backs? Obviously John Stones is looking a surefire thing. Who would you put next to him?
Well, like you say, I think John Stones is nailed on to take at least one of those centre-back positions. It's just a case of who do we put alongside him? I mean, if we are to go at the three at the back, you've got Kyle Walker for those recovery runs. Obviously, Harry Maguire, who's captained England a lot of the time, if it's not Kane. And, you've got others as well. Michael Keane comes into that category, Connor Cody. But it's just a case of, finding that partnership or trio as Southgate might go with, and sticking with them, because I think rotation may be our downfall should we do that.
Yeah. So another performer in Declan Rice, obviously captain in West Ham at the moment, with Noble out the team, and Henderson also being injured. Do you think Rice is looking at a definite spot, Jacob?
Yes, for sure. I think he's going to be integral to England's team. You look through the various competitions England have been in the last 20 odd years. England have always struggled to get control of the midfield. You saw that in the semi-final at the World Cup, Croatia, Rakitic and Modric. You saw that even as far as 2012, where you had Andrea Pirlo running the show. England's midfield has always suffered because they have not been technically good enough to dictate play. And as a result, in a competition environment, England get worn down and they eventually lose. So I think Declan Rice has got a real job as that anchor man to keep things ticking over, to win control of that midfield. And if England are going to have any semblance of attacking with the likes of Mount, Grealish, Foden, he's got to be there just sitting and providing these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Without him, our other creative players won't be able to do anything. So yeah, definitely. And obviously, number 9, you would assume it's going to be Harry Kane, obviously captain, last tournament was top scorer. But it's then who do you put on the wings next to him with a lot of talent? Rashford, Grealish, Sancho. Ollie, who would you have next to Harry Kane?
Yeah, I think Rashford for me. Just everything about him on the football pitch is brilliant. I think you're looking on the wings as well. I think Grealish, one of them players, would be stupid not to take him, because I just think he's probably one of the best players in that team, regardless of position. The way he can just impact games. You saw, I think he only got a few minutes at the end of last year, but the damage he caused when he was on the pitch was unbelievable. He'd be an interesting one. Maybe not necessarily on the wing, but I saw, again, when I was looking at the England under 21 squad announcement, they made a point that Jude Bellingham wasn't in there, and it looks like he's going to be called up again. So, he's got a lot of work to do, I think, to solidify himself in the midfield in that team, especially if you can maybe put on the wing. So, because there's so many good players at the minute, and like we said, it'd be daft not to utilise them. And I think it's hard to say. It'll probably come down to more form towards the end, but I imagine somebody like Sancho and Rashford would sandwich him on the wing.
Yeah. So with Gareth Southgate, obviously, with the Euros coming up, he'll definitely be watching all the English teams that are still left in the Champions League. And next we have Manchester City. We're looking to hope tomorrow we play in Mönchengladbach, hoping to cruise to the Champions League quarter-finals with a struggling Borussia Mönchengladbach visiting tomorrow evening. The Premier League table toppers head into this second leg 2-0 to the good, following goals from Bernardo Silva and Gabriel Jesus almost 3 weeks ago. Gladbach are struggling for momentum, winning just once from their last 9 games, while City come into this with 1 defeat in their previous 31 in all competitions. We have coverage of this from Ryan Honey, one of our panellists.
The dulcet tones of Ryan Honey. I can't wait to hear.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Tomorrow night, Manchester City host Borussia Mönchengladbach in the second leg of their last 16 Champions League tie. The German side travel to the Etihad, having never beaten an English side away from home in European competition. It's fair to say they'll have a mighty challenge on their hands, with a 2-goal deficit to overturn against a side which has kept 6 successive Champions League clean sheets. The Citizens have conceded 2 goals in a match just 4 times all season. City have set the bar exceptionally high this campaign in the Premier League, sitting 14 points clear with 8 games to play. They come into this game off the back of a comfortable 3-0 win away to Fulham at the weekend, and Pep Guardiola has no new injury concerns ahead of the clash. Although the Spaniard is confident his side can progress to the quarter-finals, he remains wary of the threat Gladbach can pose.
They have a top quality, like all the seasons. The players have maybe bad moments in terms of results. Maybe that is the moment, but it's a final. They don't have anything to lose, so I'm pretty sure they're going to try to overcome the situation, and you have to be ready to win the game.
After a bright start to the term, Borussia Mönchengladbach have slipped down to 10th following their latest winless run, which has lasted 8 games in all competitions. It begs the question as to whether the announcement of manager Marc Rosa leaving for Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season has played a part in the decline of form. Former Manchester City defender Julian Lescott believes Gladbach can turn this around, but need to go for it more than they did last time out.
You have to be more adventurous with your attack and sacrifice players and leave them up front, and most likely you're going to concede. You have to be pretty aware of that, but then you have to say, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice 2 players, half the field, and make City defend in wider areas. And
so a fascinating game is set to take place tomorrow evening between 2 teams in completely different runs of form. Will City be able to book their place in the quarterfinals for the 4th consecutive season, or will the German underdogs shock the footballing world?
It's Tom Smith. Back to right.
Henry Deacon, 3rd year. Great to hear from him.
Glad we got him on there. So Ryan, obviously the one thing that Pep Guardiola is good at, winning Champions League everywhere he goes. Don't you think this would be the one competition he would really love to win in Sky Blue?
For sure. I mean, his last Champions League came in 2011. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, I think, for Pep Guardiola at City, and he will feel as though this is their year. I mean, they're obviously storming the Premier League. They're already doing so well in the cups as well. So they will feel that this Champions League campaign can result in success. And I'm sure the fans will be thinking the same with the players they've got at their disposal this season, the impact of Ruben Diaz, the clean sheets. It's all racking up, and it's all pointing in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So my news isn't working. That's great.
Just on Man City, Harry. Pep Guardiola came in specifically to win the Champions League. I think City did have problems winning the league, did they? Pellegrini did it. Mancini did it. Guardiola's come in to win the Champions League. He did do it at Bayern Munich, and now we look back at that Bayern Munich team, you think, okay, you won the domestic Bundesliga, but he didn't quite win the Champions League. And that's the thing about Guardiola. He's been accused of overthinking in the Champions League in recent years, away to Tottenham, away to Liverpool. This year, especially given the climate, City have got a big squad. A lot of other teams who they will come against haven't. So they're going to be fresher than a lot of teams. And for me, if they're going to win the Champions League, it has to be this year.
Yeah, you'd have to hope so. Well, you'd have to think so. Sorry, with Guardiola, with most Man City managers, as we've seen, if they just do it domestically, it doesn't tend to keep their job. So Guardiola has been a bit of an exception in that sense. Obviously, with Pellegrini winning the league, but didn't manage to keep his job. Right, so my iNews isn't working, by the way, boys. Technical difficulties, that's what we like.
Me both, mate.
Yeah. Right then.
Harry, can I just ask Ryan Honey a question, because he is a Portsmouth fan? So if you just want to try and find your iNews, and I can ask him about Kenny Jackett. We've talked about Sheffield United, haven't we, Ryan? About, they look dead. I think a similar thing is happening with Portsmouth, isn't it?
As in dead and buried for the season?
Yeah, or dead and buried just in general, because in the last 3-4 years, you've plateaued, haven't you?
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a jump here. We're going from City to Portsmouth, so
we're playing blue.
Get my bearings. I mean, Portsmouth. When obviously Michael Eisner took over the club back in 2017, the vision was to slowly progress. And I mean, Jackett came in first season in League One. We were in and around the playoffs in 8th place, and then the following season got into the playoffs. Obviously, didn't do very well. Didn't score in both legs against Sunderland, therefore resulting in 2 very disappointing, 2 disappointing days in a playoff semi-final. So, and then obviously the Oxford after. The season was curtailed and points per game was brought in because of coronavirus. Oxford, it's still progress. We got into the playoffs and obviously didn't get to Wembley again. However, this season, the progress is almost taken a step backwards in many ways. And I think that's why the board and Mark Catlin, the chief exec, have taken it upon themselves to change things. And I think that they've definitely made the right call. Progress wasn't being made this season, and ultimately, we need to try and bring in someone that can change that.
Yeah. So while we are waiting for iNews, there will be some packages on tomorrow's game, in some of them being in the Championship. Jacob, Norwich and Bournemouth both looking good. Obviously, Bournemouth in action tomorrow. Who do you think will be looking to get automatic promotion and who will be pushing playoffs?
Well, Norwich, undoubtedly, I think they're looking fantastic, aren't they? Daniel Farke, they stuck with him. He's done a really good job. They've kind of got so much clarity in where they're going. Even when they got relegated, they didn't really panic, and they've kept the nucleus of that squad together. Likes of Aarons, the likes of Cantwell, really good side. Bournemouth, you say they're doing great. I think they've been really poor this season. You look at the Eddie Howe model where they were playing great football, and it was progressive. They got up through the leagues. And now they had Jason Tindall, who played far at the back, one of the reasons why he got sacked. Jonathan Woodgate, who somehow got the job until the end of the season purely through almost relegated Middlesbrough. They've lost Graham Jones for assistant manager. There's a lot of turnover coming in that Bournemouth side, and they have to get promoted this year because the parachute payments from the Premier League will end, and that means they'll have to sell even more players. So you look at the likes of Lewis Cook, Jefferson Lerma. If they leave at the end of this summer without getting promoted, they could spend a long time in the Championship.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jacob. Do you think that if they are not to go up and these players do ship out and leave, do you feel as though it could be a bad time for Bournemouth as a fan because that they could end up slipping down the leagues again?
Yes, for sure. Because you look at Bournemouth, they tried in the midst of building a training ground before the pandemic and hit, and that's been halted because of the pandemic, because they got relegated. They had plans to expand the stadium, and since then, when they were in the Premier League, and they looked quite comfortable, didn't they? Before the fifth year in the Premier League, they were 10th, 12th. Now they've just in the last year they've just nosedived, haven't they? And you look at that side; they've been together a long time. Stanislas, Steve Cook, the boardroom's been there for a long time. The same coaching staff are still there from 6-7 years. They need to find a new direction to move in, and they have to get promotion this season. The owner's been categoric in it. Maxime Demon, he said they have to get promotion this season. Jason Tindall got sacked because they were sixth, still in the playoffs. Now, what are they? They're outside the playoffs now. This is a massive season for Bournemouth, and arguably probably their most defining one in terms of protecting the long-term future of the club.
Sorry, again, you mentioned there about Steve Cook and the likes of Steve Cook, Stanislas. They've been there from the start, but they were there in the Championship when they did get promoted to the Premier League. How crucial do you think it was that they never got replaced? Do you think that as they've got older, obviously they haven't got the Premier League quality as they've got older to be able to withstand the pressure that Bournemouth have come under, last season when they got relegated? Do you think the recruitment process has let them down, especially under Eddie Howe in the last few seasons?
Well, if you think back to their first time in the Championship, Junior Stanislas wasn't even a starter. They had Matt Ritchie, Mark Pugh, Ryan Fraser before him. So it's kind of somewhat a surprise that Stanislas is still there. But yeah, as you're right, the recruitment's been really poor in the recent years. You think Dominic Solanke, 19 million. He's not really done anything in the Premier League, and he's not really doing too much now in the Championship. I think you can say Jefferson Lerma's been a success, but that was 25 million. And for a team that, I think I saw a stat the other day, 88% of their revenue purely came through Premier League money. And now that's gone. They didn't have the money in the first place. So to spend 25 million on Jefferson Lerma was a huge risk. And you'll see that if that is the case come the end of the season, if they don't get promoted.
Yeah, and going back to Norwich, obviously with the bulk of their team staying, Todd Cantwell, Aarons, why do you think it is that they didn't look to move to a bigger club? Obviously, at a young age, they probably could have picked up a big deal. Sorry.
I think Barcelona were interested in Max Aarons or something. That was one of the silly. Yeah. I just think that they're not in a rush at the moment. They've got a good manager. They're only young, aren't they? Under 23, and they're settled. And I think there was a real confidence that they can keep that core squad. They would bounce straight back up, and it looks to be the case. And another year of playing Premier League football next year will do them a world of good, and then they can go. I think there's too many young players now that are in a rush to move. Max Aarons and Todd Cantwell just staying there will probably add a little bit more longevity into their career.
Yeah, there's not really any need for them to leave just yet, as you'd expect Norwich to go straight back up, and then they've got another chance in the Premier League. Anyway, so we're going to go to Ollie Johnson now to talk about the Wolves-Liverpool game as it's 15 minutes in. Ollie?
Yeah, not a lot happening. Liverpool have just had a chance. Mane pretty much on his own in the box. Had loads of space, hit it straight at the defender. Wolves have had the majority of the possession from what I've seen. Nelson Semedo is doing a lot of damage down the right side. But yeah, pretty quiet so far. Not a lot to report.
No, perfect. Thank you. So now we're going to go to a preview for tomorrow's match with Mickey Gerasti on Real Madrid versus Atalanta. So Real Madrid will be hosting Atalanta in the second leg of the Champions League round of 16. With the first half of the draw ending with the Madristas side on top by 1-0. Both sides are having interesting seasons, not necessarily positive for both. That said, will be an exciting night in the Spanish capital. Mickey Justy will be reporting on the night. Mickey sent me a link. It's not. Should be a good game tomorrow night, lads, shouldn't it? With
some interesting chat. Atalanta for the second leg.
Real Madrid, Gladbach.
Yes, I think you look at Real Madrid, they've got injuries, haven't they? Eden Hazard, I think, is out again. So, and you look at that Real Madrid bench from the first leg, they had young lads on there, didn't they? So, I think if Atalanta can, go early, you could really start sensing nerves in Zidane's team.
Yeah. Okay, so here is the preview from Mickey.
Competitions. Interesting Champions League action is just about to take place. Real Madrid are set to host Atalanta for the second leg of the competition's round of 16. A controversial first 90 ended with Los Merengues winning 1-0 a couple of weeks ago. La Dea's Roman Freuler was sent off, causing a lot of turbulence around the officiating. Despite the Den hosts putting a fair fight with a man down, Real Madrid managed a late finish thanks to Ferland Mendy. Starting with the visitors, Atalanta has been on an impressive spell over the last 3 years and have been producing some beautiful football. In that time, they haven't finished outside the top 4 and have made it to the Champions League last year, reaching the quarterfinal but being knocked out by the runners-out Paris Saint-Germain. To get closer to the action, they are sitting at 4th in Serie A and have won 4 of their last 5 games. They possess the league's 3rd top scorer, Luis Muriel, who has 16 goals to his name. Manager Gianpiero Gasperini did say the following: "We just have to win in Madrid. It's easy. We can't overthink. We just have one possibility. We must win."
Atalanta are going to go into this game and play the way that we saw them play last season, where they live and die by their style under Gianpiero Gasperini. Think of the way that Atalanta played against Paris Saint-Germain, that even when Kylian Mbappe came off the bench and there was Neymar as well in the second half, they kept pushing players forward, and Atalanta were absolutely exhausted at the end.
Those were the words of Serie A specialist for ESPN, Matteo Bonetti. Meanwhile, if Real Madrid manage to get past Atalanta, they will have already had a better European run than last year, as they got knocked out by Manchester City. They are missing defender Dani Carvajal and Marcelo to injuries. Midfielder Casemiro is suspended and will be missing out as well. Eden Hazard, despite coming back against Elche on the weekend, he has picked up yet another injury and will be absent from the clash, though Karim Benzema and Sergio Ramos will be returning to the squad. They will be lucky to have the Frenchman back, also 3rd top scorer in the league with 15 goals. The night will be everything but boring. Catch us tomorrow on Solent Sports for the coverage of the Champions League round of 16.
Thank you. We now have Mickey here to discuss the Real Madrid-Atalanta game. Mickey, so obviously Real Madrid used to be giants in the Champions League. You used to fancy them every single year. Obviously a bit different nowadays. Do you think Real Madrid have what it takes to go all the way?
Well, technically, Real Madrid have been such a great side over the past decade. 3 Champions League titles in 3 years, but just last year they've been knocked out at the round of 16, and it hasn't been really the best time for them, especially since Ronaldo has left them for Juventus. That said, they have been playing pretty well recently. The last time they lost a game was just at the end of January. Eden Hazard has just come back for them against Elche, but Unfortunately, he got injured again. They do have everything that it takes to get through this round. Karim Benzema, their best player this season, and someone who's been having a great season overall at La Liga, is back. Is going to be back on Tuesday. He wasn't there last time against Atalanta. He will be there this time, which means they might be able to score more goals. That said, you have also great Atalanta side. They've been playing really great football over the past couple of years. They have also Duvan Zapata and Luis Boyel up front, to a great Colombian partnership that has everything that it takes, to cause a great upset. And when you look at it, Atalanta did get through to the quarterfinal last year, while Madrid only got to the round of 16. And Atalanta, just I was saying earlier, they got knocked out by the runners-up of the competition. So yeah, Atalanta are fourth in the Serie A. They're getting more and more used to Champions League football and a more glorious stage. And you know what? Without fans, they can be able to cause an upset Tuesday night.
Yeah, an inexperienced side in Atalanta in the Champions League, but definitely a dangerous one. And with Real Madrid's injuries, could definitely cause an upset. So yeah, thank you very much, Mickey.
Cheers, Mickey.
Yeah.
Perfect. Righty then.
Real Madrid over the past couple of years, like for one reason or another, with the same manager, gone from being like arguably one of the greatest European teams ever, and like the only team to win back-to-back and 3 European Cups on the road, to being unexpected, like to progress through like quarterfinals is really mad to me.
Ollie, but it's a lot of it is because they're all aging together. The signings they have brought in, the likes of Vinicius, Rodrigo, they haven't quite had the impact yet, and they've got no money either. Neither big Spanish club has got any money, so the likes of thinking they can bring in Kylian Mbappe in, it's fanciful now. They haven't got any money, and that's why they're relying on the likes of Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, who are in their mid-30s, to still perform at that level they did 4 years ago, and I don't think it's physically possible now.
No. The big money spend as well, like Jovic, he's gone again, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really gone back to Frankfurt, I think it is.
He's meant to be their next top striker, and he's gone already. So, not really.
Yeah. Both Spanish sides need to really invest in some youth, with obviously a couple of Asian squads. Right. So,
what we need for the next bit. Just going to say nothing. Liverpool have had a couple of good chances so far. I've seen in the past 5 minutes they've probably had 3 chances where they could score. They've got another one now. Marnie just mishit it. It was going to be a good cross. Jota was in the middle, but he couldn't quite get to it. But Liverpool's still on the attack here.
Is it all Liverpool so far, Ollie?
The first 10-15 minutes was all Wolves, but since I've been watching for the past the last 10 minutes, it's been all Liverpool, and Mane's just run out of play. But when I've been looking, they probably had 4 or 5 attacks.
Nice.
While we wait for Harry to get set up and stuff, can I just draw your attention to Ryan Haney's clothes? He seems to have changed. Where's the sheepskin jacket gone, Ryan?
Yeah, it was getting quite stuffy in here, so I had to go.
I liked it.
I don't know why I put it on, to be fair. Just thought, live in the moment.
No, it looked nice, mate. I quite liked it.
Thanks, Harry.
I didn't.
Should be rocking the turtleneck like Jacob, Ryan.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Only some can pull it off, Harry.
No, pretty much. Doing a great job at it. Right. My iNews just let me down.
No, I think it's gone down, mate.
Yeah, it's not providing us, but we'll keep it moving.
No, we're right.
Yeah. I think I'm just waiting on obviously whoever's next on the running order. I just need their
next game was the Cardiff and Stoke game. I'm looking at the schedule.
Is it Cardiff Stoke?
I think so. I look at the schedule I put in the group chat. I think
yeah.
So
I've not got whoever's Cardiff Stoke. I've not got their queue. So
Jack Bishop seems to be joining us. So that's Jack. You got anything, mate?
No, he hasn't.
He's gone. It must have been the question I asked.
No, You look at Cardiff though at the minute, like they went on a really good unbeaten run. They won, like it made me laugh because Mick McCarthy came in for Neil Harris, who really was doing a pretty poor job this season. Mick came in, all the Cardiff fans hated it. They all wanted him out straight away. They thought it was an unambitious appointment. I think they've got until the end of the season. And then he goes and wins 5 or 6 games on the bounce, and it was only at the weekend that he lost his first game, I think, in a Cardiff shirt. So he's really pulled them out of trouble at the minute.
I absolutely love Mick McCarthy. You got Mick McCarthy, Warnock. Okay, these are the cornerstones of football league. Okay, they need to be protected, don't they? I think they're really good, and I don't think they get enough credit because they actually are quite good tactical thinkers.
I met McCarthy at an airport like 10 years ago, and he still looked 102 then.
He's not actually that old, is he, Mick McCarthy?
No, he's always just looked old.
Just been a manager.
You look at him when he played in the 80s, he looks exactly the same, just with like brown hair. He still looks got like wrinkly face.
Yeah.
No, it'd be interesting though, because that's like a really big playoff game. Cardiff and Stoke, they're sort of both on the outskirts of the state. I don't think Cardiff are in it. I think they might have just dropped out at the weekend. But it's a huge game, on either camp, because both teams you'd argue are probably good enough to get in the playoffs, and I really think it's anybody's game.
Well,
promotion as well as probably any game, so it's going to be interesting.
With Stoke, you normally it used to a point where they were kind of doing what Burnley are doing now, not playing the nicest style of football, but obviously still staying in the Premier League. But obviously that sat mid-table is not going as well for them. No. But we've got a preview here from a preview on the Stoke Cardiff game for tomorrow. If we just play that.
It really is a 6-pointer, that game. I couldn't call it, to be honest. Not working.
Have we got it?
Do we know if it's home? Is it Stoke at home or away?
It is Cardiff at home.
Can I ask a question about Stoke? Is it written in their contracts where they have to have an average age of at least 34 before they sign for Stoke? Because
average height is 6'6" and a long throw.
Ever since Tony Pulis, just buy these players. Oh, not even buy. They get them on free contracts. But like John Obi McCow and Steve Fletcher, I'm like, where did they get? Have they got a recruitment team or not, or do they just buy off FIFA 12?
Saying that, I saw the centre back. He's like really tall, and Man United want to sign him. I saw something that he wants. Darren Fletcher wants to buy him as his first signing. I'm not sure if that's fair, but he looked good. He looks alright, but he's just a big, tall, probably a taller version of Maguire, really.
Ollie, have you seen much of Angus Gunn this year? Because obviously he's on loan from Southampton, and he's been in and out of the team, hasn't he?
I saw him once, and he should have got sent off.
Did that happen to be against Swansea?
Yeah, but
so there's a little bit of bias in you, then, isn't there?
I'll tell you why. So, he comes in, and the goalkeeping situation at Stoke's been really weird this season. You look at towards the end of last season, it was Butland. Butland got dropped. It was then Adam Davis. Davis played in goal for the first 4 or 5 games this season. He then got dropped, etc. Then I think Angus Gunn came in on loan, and then basically got dropped because he wasn't good enough. So then they recalled Joe Bursick from, I think he was at Doncaster Rovers maybe at the time. And now he's starting, and now they've decided to play Angus Gunn again. So they haven't got a solid goalkeeper, really. And it's hard to decide. And it's like, how can your goalkeeper, you're meant to play around your goalkeeper, I think, especially with a team like Stoke, which are a really hoofball team. He's got to command that. And if you haven't got a solid number one keeper, which they still don't, because they're still changing it.
Yeah. So here's our preview for tomorrow's game. Before we move on, I'm just showing it now. Everyone at home watching. Here we go. Share it to all the thousands at home watching.
At least.
Mick McCarthy's Cardiff City will be hoping for a swift return to form when they're facing out of sorts Stoke City team on Tuesday evening. The mid-table clash at the Cardiff City Stadium sees one of the most informed teams facing one of the most out-of-form teams. Bluebirds fans have been treated to a real turnaround under Mick McCarthy, with just one loss in the last 11 games in the league, the 2-1 defeat to Watford on Saturday. On that day, however, Cardiff struggled in front of goal and badly need top scorer and main man up top, Kiefer Moore, to return to form, if they had to push for the playoffs.
Moore into a great position and he's hammered it into the net.
However, McCarthy believes his side can kick on again and chase down the top 6.
You know, they can be proud of what they've achieved over the last 12 games, so why would they adopt a real negative response to this? It's a disappointment. I keep saying it's how you respond to disappointments. I've no fears over that for them.
Stoke showed similar failings in their surprise 3-0 defeat to Middlesbrough on Saturday, with frontman Stephen Fletcher missing a host of chances and Jacob Brown smashing the post. Manager Michael O'Neill's side have a dreadful away record though, and haven't won an away game since mid-December and have struggled to make their dominance in games count.
Better, hit the post in the first minute. I think it's a cross really, to be honest, from Jacob, but we don't turn our advantage and our dominance into goals and chances, and that's the difference really.
The Potters' run of just 2 wins in 6 has taken them a little out of playoff contention, and they now sit 13 points off high-flying Barnsley. For Cardiff, this midweek game comes slightly too soon for Lee Tomlin and Jordi Osei-Tutu, who might have to wait until the weekend to make their return from long-term injury. As for Stoke, they are still without James McLean and Sam Clucas in midfield, but Jordan Thompson and centre-half Danny Bath are both available. I'm James Rann, and that's all for Solent Sports News.
Yeah, tough one to call that, definitely. Stoke will be, both sides will be very extremely eager to be getting points there. Obviously, Cardiff wanted to get back into the playoffs, and I'm sure Stoke will too. So we're going to move on to another championship game being played tomorrow. Derby Brentford. We have a reporter going to be there live tomorrow. Let me just grab that. So it's a battle of relegation and promotion fighters as Derby host Brentford at Pride Park tomorrow. A 3-goal win for Brentford would push them into the top 2, whilst a win for Derby would take them one step closer to securing safety. Here's James Simmons with a preview. Right.
Well, it's a big match in the Championship tomorrow as Brentford look to push into the automatic promotion places, whilst Derby still aren't out of the relegation fight. 3 wins out of 4 puts all the momentum with the Bees, while Derby find themselves without a win in 5. The last time the sides met it ended in a 0-0 draw, but since then Wayne Rooney has been promoted to head coach of the Rams and have put some distance between them and the bottom 3, but still not enough to realistically consider themselves safe. While Brentford have the most goals in the division, their opposition tomorrow have the least, scoring a total of just 25 goals in 36 games. Following their last match, Wayne Rooney thinks his side wastes too many opportunities.
What we've done, we've got the goals when we've needed them since I've been in charge, and if I was a defender or midfield player, I'd be asking questions in terms of we're getting in good positions and put some very good balls in, and they're getting wasted because our attacking players weren't prepared to put the body in there.
Ivan Toney is the man to watch for Brentford. He leads the scoring table with 26 goals and bagged the winner in their last match against Blackburn Rovers. He's turning out to be one of the signings of the season. Thomas Frank has put their transfer success down to research.
We just done our homework. We went in depth with everything to find the right player for the right position, and then got them, and then together we tried to bring them forward. It doesn't matter if it's a well-known player or a not that well-known player. We still need to coach them and try to make them better and try to fit them in the way we like to play.
In injury news, Wayne Rooney's side are without Christian Bielik, Tom Lawrence and Curtis Davis as they look to stop their slump in form. Rico Henry, Pontus Jansson and Shandon Baptiste are all out for Brentford.
So we're joined here with James Rann, who is going to be watching the Cardiff Stoke game tomorrow. Tough one to call, James. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, really, mate. Like
like I said in the package, Cardiff are in good form at the moment, which is kind of weird, especially since Mick McCarthy's just come in. I heard Ollie say, obviously being a Swansea fan, he's probably not too happy they're doing too well. And but yeah, I think I probably wasn't the only person who thought he was nearly finished in the game. Obviously, was at Ipswich for those years, and then went to Cyprus, and then had a bad time in with the national team. And I thought he was kind of out of it. But fair play to the guy. He's playing good football, and they're on a really good run. As for Stoke, it's not going too well. They've not played too well really since they dropped down. Obviously, they're a big club. Everyone thought they could probably come back up again, but no, they've struggled really badly.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Cardiff can push for promotion this season?
I think they're in good form. Obviously, winning, going unbeaten in like 11 or so until the weekend, lost to Watford, was good. But I don't know if you've seen the way Watford scored in the 91st minute of the weekend. It was an awful save by the keeper, Phillips. He went straight through it, mate, completely. So it might be a bit demoralising, but when you're in good form like that, there's always chances. And although Barnsley are playing quite well, they might fancy themselves to put a late push together.
Yeah. Well, Cardiff are definitely fancying themselves as at home. But yeah, should definitely be a good game. Thank you very much, James.
No worries, mate. See you later.
Cheers, James.
Cheers. All right, so now we move on to another championship fixture tomorrow. So playoff outsiders Middlesbrough welcome mid-table Preston North End tomorrow night. Borough are 8 points outside of the top 6, while Preston are currently 5th in the league. Here's Ali Pollock with more. Jacob, while we wait, do you want to discuss us with the headband?
Well, yeah, if you want it. I know it's the elephant in the room, but we don't. Although people have been criticising me, I think I am setting a trend because Ryan Honey, obviously one of our panelists, messaged me yesterday and said that he wants to know where I bought the headband from.
Oh, really?
He's thinking about one. So although people like to criticise me, it's practical, it works, especially with no hairdresser till April 12th.
Yeah.
And it seems like people are copying me. So if you want to, you can do it. But
I would say part-time fashion icon, part-time journalist at this rate.
I like to blend the two, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So if I can just find it. There it is. Perfect timing. Swiftly onwards from the headband. Here is Ali Pollock. John Pesley.
Middlesbrough will be hoping to keep their championship playoff dreams alive as they host Preston North End on Tuesday night at the Riverside Stadium. Borough sit in 9th spot, 8 points behind the top 6. Meanwhile, Alex Neil's side have had a poor season so far, seeing them lie in 15th in the table. Neil Warnock's team have been inconsistent recently, but a 3-0 win over Stoke City on Saturday pleased the veteran manager.
They're a strong side, Stoke. You look at the squad they've got. It's one of the best in the league, really. So I thought after that first 15 minutes where we were really all at sea, I thought we sorted it out and well deserved it in the end.
Preston won 3-0 earlier in the season, and Alex Neil's team could certainly do with a similar result as they have only won 2 of the last 11 games, including a 1-0 loss to bottom of the table Wycombe Wanderers last weekend. Neil made 3 changes at half-time at Adams Park and has admitted being alarmed about their recent form. Sports journalist John Baisley gives his thoughts on the championship clash.
Yeah, I firmly expect Middlesbrough to get the 3 points tomorrow night. I mean, I know they haven't been in the best of form, but they really impressed me against Stoke Saturday, and I just think Preston haven't been great all year.
After Tuesday's game, Borough's next 4 matches are all against top 10 clubs, including playoff chasers Barnsley and Bournemouth, making 3 points tomorrow night all the more important.
From next Wednesday, outdoor sports can resume.
That was Prime Minister Boris Johnson announcing the news that all non-league football can return to England from the 2nd of December. The government's winter survival package means that £11 million has been earmarked for football clubs in step 1 to 2, whilst £40 million will go to steps 3 to 6. Joe Martin, chairman of Corsham Town, who are in step 6, discusses the need for these loans.
Financially, we need the money. We've been reliant on sponsors
up until now in sort of money that we had across the early part of the season, but it's slowly starting to diminish.
Despite these loans, many non-league clubs will struggle financially due to the clubhouses not being able to open unless they serve substantial meals. Although fans will be allowed back in, Daily Mail journalist Luke Augustus explains his thoughts on whether clubs will stay afloat.
It's financially not viable for this to really go on, to be honest with you. How many people are going to buy a burger, have a pint, because there's only so many burgers you can eat during 90 minutes? I think it's going to be hard for clubs, to be honest with you.
Non-league football plays a huge role in both players and managers' lives. Thousands of non-league players from all over England have only played a handful of league games so far, which has impacted them not just physically, but mentally too.
Managers, generally, they seem to be more that they want to play.
Everywhere I seem to go, we can't get rid of Boris Johnson's voice, so...
Extra fee money there.
Can't get bored of Boris's voice. So we're joined with Ali Pollock, who's going to be covering the game tomorrow. So Ali, with Brentford obviously just failing to get promotion last year, how key is it for them to get promotion this year?
It's key for Brentford, but I'm covering Borough, Preston. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry about that. That's my bad. Don't know why you think you're covering that.
You can tell us about Brentford if you want.
A decent side, to be fair.
Didn't I just play Brentford?
No, you played Middlesbrough.
Oh, probably best to ask you about Middlesbrough. So Middlesbrough obviously sitting mid-table. Do you fancy their chances tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they got a good 3-0 win on the weekend, didn't they? And obviously recently Neil Warnock, he signed a new extension to the end of next season. So that will give them a bit of hope. They're 8 points off the playoffs or 9 points off the playoffs now, which might be a bit too far currently considering teams above them are on quite good form. But I think definitely for next season, obviously with Neil Warnock's promotion record, they'll be looking to be in there in amongst, if not the top 2, then definitely the top 6 next season.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So we'll keep you there, but we need to go to Ollie Johnson as there's been a chance for Liverpool.
Yes, mate, about 5 minutes ago, probably the best chance of the half. Trent Alexander-Arnold, brilliant delivery in. Sadio Mane was completely on his own in the middle of the box, and all he had to do was just direct it into the corner of the goal, but he directed it wide for somehow, no idea. He had plenty of time on his hands. Wasted opportunity for me. Since then, Wolves have gone on the attack. Thiago's given away another foul. That's all he seems to be doing this game, and he's just been booked. Foul on Traore, so Wolves have got a good chance at a free kick now.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll keep you updated. We'll go back to Ollie if anything happens over there. So back to you, Ali. With Preston sitting in 15th, they should be fine to stay up, but do you think they can push for anything else this season? Maybe a bit too late for playoffs, but...
Yeah, well, they're like you say, they're 15th. They've only won 2 of their last 11. They're a good 17 points away from the playoffs, so I think it's probably a bit too late now. And obviously, I don't think they're any of the richest or one of the stronger financial clubs in the league. So I think they'll probably have to get to the summer and then reassess from there. Obviously, recently they signed former City player Scott Sinclair, I think a couple of transfer windows ago. He is their top scorer now this season with 9 goals, but I don't think that will be enough for them to push without further additions in the summer.
Mm-hmm, perfect. But you think they'll be safe for the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think it will genuinely come down to there'll be 3 worse teams than them, really. I don't think they'll get dragged into the relegation battle. You've got Wickham and Sheffield Wednesday who look pretty dead and buried already, and then it's just a case of Rotherham, maybe Birmingham, one of those who could go down with the other 2 teams.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much, Ali. We'll be speaking to you tomorrow. Okay. So we'll go back to Ollie just as we're coming to half time. Have Liverpool been the best side?
It's been hard to tell, really. I mean, other than that one chance, and there was that probably 5-10 minutes where they were really looking on top. Other than that, I've seen Wolves have most of the ball. That free kick was, very good shot. Ruben Neves just hit it pretty much straight into Alisson's arms, but it was a good chance. It's hard to say that a 0-0 game's been exciting, but there's been loads of stuff going on every time we've looked. So good game so far. I'll give you more of an update at halftime.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Ryan, your Wi-Fi's holding out quite nicely.
Sorry?
You said your Wi-Fi is holding out quite nicely.
Yeah, last 5 minutes, mate. No breakup. So yeah, that's a relief.
Ryan, is it because you've got bad broadband, or is it just the fact you live in Portsmouth?
A bit of both.
Yeah. Who are you with, Ryan?
Who am I with? Virgin Media, I believe.
Shouldn't be letting you down then, really.
They're usually pretty good. I mean, tonight of all nights, it's a big night, sports night. Just decides to let me down.
At least it's not a Pro Club game or something important like that.
Yeah,
that's true
for sure.
Okay. So we will.
Thanks for that, Ryan, for that Virgin Media chat. Let's get back onto football now.
Let's get back to the football.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. Little tangent. So we'll be moving on to more Championship games and previews for tomorrow, and League One and League Two. I'm just waiting on someone's introduction. Just want to give them the credit.
What game is it that we're doing next?
It is on the running order. It's Matas who will be speaking. It is the
Rotherham v Watford, mate.
Rotherham v Watford.
Obviously looking to hopefully clinch the automatic spots. I think they're fourth.
Yeah. I think they were top two. I think at the start of the year or the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely might have been. And like I said, they had a last-minute winner, didn't Cardiff at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He's fourth goalkeeper, so yeah, definitely.
The second. Obviously playing Rotherham, who are sat at the top of the relegation zone in 22nd. Definitely an opportunity for Watford to take all 3 points. So we're going to go to preview for tomorrow's match with Matas, who will be at the ground tomorrow. Matas has sent it to me. Perfect. Right, here is the preview for tomorrow's match.
Watford will travel to struggling Rotherham United on Tuesday evening. The Hornets currently occupy second place in the Championship, behind runaway leaders Norwich City, while the Millers find themselves in the bottom three. Watford left it late to be in playoff chase in Cardiff City on Saturday.
We're just going to interrupt that preview as there's been a goal at Molineux. Ollie Johnson, we're coming to you now.
Yes, and it's Jota against his old team, believe it or not. It's a brilliant team goal right from their own half. Liverpool played it through. Marnie did a 2-1 with Wijnaldum. Back to Jota, who stuck it in the bottom corner. Brilliant goal. 1-0 Liverpool on the brink of half-time.
Did he celebrate?
No, he didn't. He didn't do much of it. It was a bit more of a high five with the team rather than, sliding around.
How it should be. Don't want to burn bridges for no reason.
Yeah, good goal.
Is it pretty much half-time now?
Just whistle's just gone. It was right on the brink.
Nice. Perfect. We'll come back to you when it's kicked off again, Ollie. We're going to go back to the Rotherham-Watford preview with Matas as Jota rudely interrupted him.
As Sir Adam Messina's 94th minute free kick secured a dramatic 2-1 win in Wales. The victory was a third in a row for Hizgos Muller's side, who have won now 7 of their last 8 games, which is a run of form that has catapulted them into the automatic promotion picture, having previously only been considered as a playoff contenders. The Hornets are level on points with Swansea City and 3 points ahead of Brentford, but have played 1 game more than both sides. Now they travel to Rotherham side that have lost their last 3 games at the New York Stadium and have picked up the second fewest amount of points at home in the Championship. Since Hizgos Muller's first game in charge of Watford on Boxing Day, no Championship side has won more league matches than the Hornets. Rotherham United have lost the last 4 league games against Watford, a run stretching back to 2005. Tuesday's fixtures will be Paul Werner's side's first match in 2 weeks, as their last 3 have been postponed due to positive COVID-19 tests. Their last outing was a vital 2-1 victory over fellow strugglers and Yorkshire rivals Sheffield Wednesday, as Freddie Ladapo broke clear in 97th minute to score the winning goal. The result followed 5 defeats for Rotherham, but all by just 1 goal, so they are by no means being outplayed in matches. Rotherham's last league win over Watford was in February 2003 after going 1-0 down. Current manager Paul Werner was substituted on and the Millers won 2-1. Rotherham United have only managed 1 clean sheet in their last 9 league matches, though they did win at Sheffield Wednesday in their last championship encounter despite conceding. Rotherham boss Paul Werner will be absent from his side's upcoming games against Watford and Bristol City after entering a period of self-isolation. Werner is not sure about his team selection yet, as they aren't sure who will be fit to play.
We have an idea how we want to play a shape, and then we just have to try and put players within that shape. But they'll have to start training at 10:30. To 12:30, we'll have a FaceTime with Ross and Andy and that, Gilbs, Mark, physios, just to see how they think they are physically, and then we'll start putting names in holes. We have got some who we know, as long as they get through today's session okay without getting injured, which would be a disaster, but we have got players that we already cemented in who we should be okay to play. There's a few positions where we are struggling, so we will know more this afternoon really.
But Werner and first team coach Matt Hamshaw are among those still forced to stay away, leaving assistant manager Richie Barker and goalkeeping coach Andy Warrington to take charge. Matas Baranauskas for Solent Sports News.
Oh, a bit of Matas' music. I like it.
I didn't know Matas made music.
Of course he does.
So we're going to go speak to Ollie Johnson about Swansea Bournemouth for tomorrow's match.
Yeah, again, another big game in the promotion push. Bournemouth probably haven't had as good a season as they would have hoped. They probably would have wanted to bounce back as well as Norwich have done. Norwich are probably walking the league this season. But again, they're by no means out of the running race of playoffs. A good run of form and results go their way above them, they could easily get automatic still. Swansea, however, I think they've still got games in hand because they had games postponed earlier on in the season. And that was the thing, unfortunately, the past couple of weeks, that those games in hand, they haven't been able to pick up the points they probably would have wanted. There's been a lot of controversy with penalties that are awarded and decisions not going against other teams. And I think they've just capitalised on that. I think if you get awarded a penalty in the 97th minute or whatever it would end up being, it's a perfect opportunity to get them 3 points and get back up in the automatic positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting as well that Steve Cooper again has managed to use his contacts and get a lot of good young players in to build his strength up. And for once, the Swansea team got a good strength and depth in the back, something they probably haven't had since the last time they were in the Championship, so a good 10 years. And there's some very good young centre-backs. I think Mark Gahey, I don't know if I don't think he would challenge for a Chelsea place next year, but I definitely think we'd see him in the Premier League, whether that's with Swansea, if we get promoted, or if he does, you never know, end up playing Chelsea.
Yeah, and it's a similar situation with Bournemouth to the likes of Norwich. Obviously, they went down and didn't lose too many players, so you would expect Bournemouth to go back up, but we'll have to see. Obviously, tomorrow. So we've got a preview for tomorrow's game. Let me just get the studio to play it. So here is the Bournemouth Swansea preview with Charlie Parker.
Bournemouth host Swansea City at the Vitality Stadium in the 7:45 kickoff. The hosts' playoff hopes are hanging by a thread after their 3-2 defeat to playoff rivals Barnsley at the weekend. That win put Barnsley on 61 points ahead of the Cherries' 56 points, further locking in the 6th place spot Bournemouth were fighting for. Swansea, on the other hand, sit third in the Championship on 69 points, and they are only behind 2nd place Watford on goal difference. The Welsh team come off a 1-0 victory against Luton at the weekend and will look to boost their chances at returning to the Premier League after 3 years away from the top flight. The reverse fixture in December finished in a goalless draw, a result both teams would like to change. In team news, Bournemouth manager Jonathan Woodgate is expected to be forced into one alteration to his starting 11 after Adam Smith was substituted early in the Barnsley match. It was also confirmed at the weekend that midfielder Lewis Cook will miss the remainder of the season with a ruptured ACL injury. Jack Stacey and Philip Billin are in contention to return to the side. Swansea manager Steve Cooper is likely to bring Ben Cabango back to the side to bolster their defence. Mark Guehi and Paul Areola are still ruled out. Jonathan Woodgate has stressed the urgency of winning this game.
Swansea, another big game on Tuesday night. Business end of the season, be 10 games to go. We need to start winning games ASAP. I've got to lift them, but they've got to lift themselves as well, and we'll do that tomorrow. Be in training. We'll go through the game and I'll speak to the players. Don't give up. There's not a chance. You won't give up. There's a lot more twists and turns to come, believe me.
Bournemouth have the upper hand in the fixtures history, winning 24 compared to Swansea's 23 victories in the 60 matches they have played against each other. I am Charlie Parker, reporting for Solent Sports News.
I don't have a cinema wins mentality.
Why does it do that? Like, as it's half time over at Molineux, Ollie, do you think Wolves have enough to get back into the game?
Yeah, definitely. I still think they're very much in it. Like I said, I think they're probably the better of the first half. I know there was a big penalty claim. Take it as you want. I think it was probably a bit soft, and Alisson clattered into Semedo. I think he made a bit too much of it, to be honest. But that was probably their biggest claim. But they definitely did. Going forward, they're a great attacking side. And I think they certainly are making the most of the young and inexperienced centre-back partnership, because they are looking to make gaps. So still very much in it, but obviously a long way to come back yet.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So good stuff, fellas.
Yeah.
As we have some Champions League games tomorrow, boys, who do you think will go all the way this season? Jacob?
For me, I think I touched on it earlier. I think Man City, I think they've got the best squad, the most settled squad at the moment. You look around Europe and the Spanish clubs are in turmoil at the moment. Italian clubs, they're okay, but I think it's between PSG and Man City, two clubs that have got good depth, good managers now. They look like they're coming to their peak, which is rare at the moment because a lot of teams look absolutely spent, fatigued, but these just look like they've timed their march correctly just for the knockout stages of the Champions League. So if I had to bet, I would bet Man City.
Yeah, definitely. If PSG can keep Neymar and Mbappe fit, then they'll obviously give City a good go. But with City's squad depth, I would also tip them to most likely win it. Ollie, Ryan, anyone else you would shove in there apart from City and PSG?
No, I agree. I think Man City's bench could probably give it a good go in the Champions League. I know they played Swansea recently, and they played not their reserves, but the players that wouldn't necessarily get a starting place in the league. And they was again absolutely world class, and I think that's what meant. They've got the best that money can buy, I think, at the minute. And I think they really have sorted out in defence. I think Ruben Dias has been brilliant for them. So,
yeah. Ryan, no one's mentioned Bayern Munich, obviously the holders. Do you think they've got a chance?
I think that definitely they've got a chance to retain the Champions League. Obviously, they've looked strong this season in the Bundesliga. Obviously, overcoming Dortmund the other weekend. 4-2 winners. I would not bet against either City PSG final, City Bayern Munich final. I think that's definitely the route it's going to take. I can't see City not being in the final this year.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. City do look good. Obviously, getting Aguero back should boost them massively. So another dropping down to League One now for the first League One preview of the night. Playing tomorrow, we have Charlton Bristol Rovers. So Charlton is in 8th, while Bristol Rovers sit just above the relegation zone in 19th. Should be a good game. We now have Charlton.
It'd be interesting as well while you do try and find that preview, Harry. Just to note that obviously Lee Bowyer has left Charlton today, and it looks as though he's on his way to Birmingham. So it will be interesting to see how they do react against Bristol Rovers tomorrow without a manager.
You surprised at that one, Ryan, because obviously you mentioned him for the Portsmouth job, and obviously Birmingham, they've got a checkered past, haven't they, of managers, and they're not exactly in the most financially stable situation, are they?
No, it is a strange one. Obviously, Isaac Karanka's time is up today, and it must have been in the works for a little while, because it's meant that Lee Bowyer resigned today as well. That's no coincidence, I don't think. And I fully expect him to take over there. And it is a strange one, because obviously Charlton are in and around the playoffs, and they're looking okay for the playoffs this year. But obviously Birmingham not doing the best, and they obviously felt like they needed change now, and that meant that Lee Bowyer is obviously going to come in and try and steady the ship a little bit. But like you say, they haven't been the nicest or the most lenient when it comes to their managers. They're usually turned over pretty quickly, so they must have done pretty well in the negotiations to try and convince someone like Lee Bowyer to try and come in.
They must have, Ryan, because you look at that infrastructure of Birmingham. I think they've done away with their academy from the under-9s group, and I think a lot of the Birmingham guys that, don't forget, they produced the likes of Nathan Redmond, Damari Gray. They're now all them players are being let go into the likes of Aston Villa, West Brom, and all the other Midlands clubs. So in terms of youth, which could be a prominent, aspect of the club that hasn't got much money, they haven't got any now. So it must be a hard challenge for any manager to come in. So that's why I'm quite surprised that Lee Bowyer, who is a relatively young manager, is making that step to Birmingham. Don't you think?
Yeah, I can see that. Obviously, it's not been confirmed yet, but it looks odds-on favourite to be confirmed. But it will be a step up. It will be a challenge for Lee Bowyer. Obviously, he's had a tough spell at Charlton in the last few years. Obviously, they've had a transfer embargo. He probably hasn't got in the players that he may have wanted. Injuries haven't helped him. Suspensions. I mean, he has found it difficult to try and get that sleeping giant going, if you like, in Charlton. Obviously, coming down from the Championship last season, they lost a few good players as well. Naby Sarr, even Marcus Maddison, even dropping down to Bolton in January. I mean, it was a weird one. So, I mean, it is a tricky one for Bowyer to have taken himself away from, but it'd be a good opportunity for him to try and prove himself as a manager in the Championship again with Birmingham.
And here is our preview from Sam Holmes on Charlton Bristol Rovers.
Manager list.
Will host relegation-threatened Bristol Rovers tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. in League One. Lee Bowyer resigned from Addicks today, with reports he will take the vacant Birmingham City job after Aitor Karanka was sacked yesterday. Bowyer had been manager at Charlton since 2018 and took them up to the Championship in 2019, but was relegated with them 1 year later. He released a statement on Charlton's website that said, "It was a difficult decision to leave. Everyone knows how I feel about the club. I could have gone before, but I felt it was the right thing to do to stay and help the club through the tough times we've been through. The club is now in a place with a good owner that cares and wants to improve the place, and I hope the club can continue to grow." Assistant manager Johnny Jackson will take charge of tomorrow's match. Charlton hadn't been in good form with Bowyer as their manager in the last couple of months, winning just 2 in their last 8. Saying that, their form has slightly improved in the recent 4 matches, as they remained unbeaten in them. This under-par run has seen the Addicks drop out of the playoff spots and are now 2 points behind 6th place Ipswich, having played 2 more games. Their opponents tomorrow, Bristol Rovers, have seen slight improvement since appointing Joey Barton as manager. They have taken 7 points from their last 6, but are in the midst of a relegation fight. On Saturday, the Gas drew 0-0 with relegation rivals AFC Wimbledon in what was a missed opportunity to pull away from the bottom 4 spots. Instead, they sit 19th, just a point above 21st place Wigan and 3 points above bottom of the league Wimbledon. Barton recognised that tomorrow evening's encounter won't be easy.
this time round. Obviously, you go down there and they're struggling for a bit of form. I think recent weeks have been tough for them, but also, we're not in a position to go there and expect to beat Charlton. We're going to have to earn it. It's going to have to be as close to a top level performance as we can get, because when you go to those promotion chasing sides, you've got to be on it, as we found out at home.
The last time the two sides met was in January in a reverse fixture where Charlton narrowly beat Rovers 1-0 through Liverpool loanee Liam Miller scoring the winner. The Addicts haven't lost to the Gas since 2010, which makes them unbeaten in their last 9 games against them. The main talking point though is, will Charlton cope without the normality of having Bowyer in the dugout? It will definitely be an interesting League One clash.
Gotta love SoundCloud. Right, we're joined by Sam Holmes. So Sam, Charlton really need all 3 points tomorrow if they are going to push to promotion. Do you think they've got it in them?
Well, I do think they've got it in them. It's going to be tough for them without Bowie as a manager. It's going to be a real shock. And they've got their assistant, so that's something that they'll recognise. They'll want to play for him, see that he can do a good job for them. But they will really struggle, I think, without Bowie. They're used to him now. It's been a while. And up against a good Rovers team as well. Joey Barton's a good manager. He did well at Fleetwood. He'll want to get Rovers playing, and he'll see that opportunity to shock Charlton and get the 3 points.
Yeah, so like you say, obviously Bristol Rovers playing a Charlton side that are there for the taking without their normal manager. And Bristol Rovers really need the points sitting just above the relegation zone. Do you think they will have enough to survive?
Yeah, I do. Bristol Rovers are a good team. They've got a great manager. I do like Barton as a manager. They'll be shocked to be down there. They've got a decent squad. I think they're better. Looking at some of the other teams around there, you got Wimbledon, Wigan, Swindon. I think they're better off than those clubs, but they need to start winning games.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Sam. We'll join you again tomorrow. Right, so our next game, also in League One, is MK Dons versus Plymouth, which is a real 6-pointer with MK Dons sitting in 15th and Plymouth in 16th. We have another preview for you.
Sorry, just before you play that, Wolves just had a really good chance there. Cody just headed the ball just over the crossbar. It was probably the best chance of the game so far.
Is that from a corner, Ollie?
No, just from a delivery. I didn't see who it was. I think it might have been Moutinho. Delivered it in. Brilliant ball in, by the way. Cody did well, actually, because there was a player in front and behind him. But yeah, couldn't quite get it on target.
Unfortunately, I've been sent an email and just says, here is my package without anything, just that. So we'll have to, unfortunately, be without that package. Do you boys have any thoughts on tomorrow's game between MK Dons and Plymouth? I don't know if you boys have had a look.
I believe Ryan Honey, unfortunately, is the League One expert because his club is firmly entrenched in that division. So, Ryan, what do you think, mate?
Well, I mean, like you say, Harry, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a 6-pointer. They're both not too far away from the relegation zone. They'll definitely see it as an opportunity to beat each other. And why wouldn't they? I mean, they're pretty safe, I want to say. Both of them sit 12 points clear of the relegation zone of, with just over 13 games to go almost. So I think they'll both be okay in terms of relegation. And it just be a case, solidifying their mid-table position. Neither team in the best of form. So they may see it as I don't know, maybe a chance just to reignite that mid-season form that they both went through. I mean, obviously MK Dons signed Will Grigg. I mean, he's been in good form. Cameron Jerome as well. He's been a real asset for them. So it'd be a good battle. It'd be a good game to watch, I'm sure. But importance-wise, it's probably one of those getting into the latter stage of the season. It'd probably just be one of them.
Yeah. Both sides obviously pretty much safe, so could obviously still be a very good game. Next, we're moving on to Oxford versus Doncaster. Two of League One's playoff chasing teams go head-to-head at the Kassam Stadium on Tuesday night as Oxford United host Doncaster Rovers, with both teams needing 3 points if they're serious about being in the playoffs come May. Joe Parker reports.
I think it will be, while you search for that, Harry, I think it will be interesting to see as well. Obviously, Doncaster lost their manager, Darren Moore. So it'd be interesting to see if they can continue their run of form after he left, and see if that will fire them firmly into the playoff places, because obviously the likes of Portsmouth, Ipswich, Oxford, they'll be breathing down their necks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure Portsmouth will be breathing down anyone's neck at the moment. But
Hey, none of that. Anyway, Doncaster, Oxford, let's go.
Let's have a listen.
Carl Robinson's Oxford United host Doncaster Rovers at the Kassam Stadium on Tuesday evening. The hosts come into the game 9th in League One, but lost at the weekend 2-0 away to league leaders Hull City, in which Robinson was impressed with his team for large spells.
Listen, you can chuck as many excuses to anybody, and I think the fans will dig their way through the good, the bad and the ugly of that performance. I think the most transparent I can say is I thought we were good for 60 minutes. I thought we then lacked a little bit of power the longer the game went on, and as we were saying then, I've just been watching a 6v6 on the pitch that they're playing, 12 players out there, and I think like Zaviz and Cowley and McGuinness and people like that, you think to yourself, Emmanuel, they're just good players at this level, and good players at the next level up, and they're always going to make it difficult for you. So from our point of view, there's a lot of learning to do.
Robinson went on to add how damaging injuries have been for his squad this season, but did mention how impressed he has been with the players in his squad.
And the problem with the squad depth is you can't carry 5-6 injuries when you come to the league leaders away. And this is the first time that you've gone, yeah, we missed them. And it's not a slant, it's not a criticism, it's just a fact that in some games at this level, yeah, you can get away with it. And by the way, the players have been excellent.
Doncaster come into the game having drawn 0-0 at home to Northampton Town on Saturday, and interim manager Andy Butler struggled to find any positives about his team's performance.
Being to us, disappointing. Didn't think we played with any sort of urgency or any sort of tempo. Northampton came in, obviously set us all out for 0-0 and get some on a break or on a set piece, so we actually switched on for them if we were.
The game should be an end-to-end affair, with both teams needing 3 points if they are serious about being involved in the playoffs come May.
In tiers 1 and 2, spectator sports and business events will be free to resume inside and outside with capacity limits and social.
I haven't gone back in time, and no, you are.
I don't know if Boris was part of the packaging, but not sure. So now we've got our next game, but first we're going to go to Ollie Johnson for a little update with the Liverpool game.
Yeah, Liverpool have had a couple of decent chances, mate, in the last 5 minutes. I know we were talking about Alexander-Arnold before, what he can provide defensively, and he's actually had, from what I've seen, a really good defensive game. And Salah's on the edge of the box, actually, with the ball. That's great turn. He's done too long with it. No, they've had some really good chances, and I think Alexander-Arnold's been one of their better players this second half. So, yeah, good performance by Liverpool.
Thank you very much. So now we have the Peterborough-Portsmouth game. So it's a top 6 clash tomorrow night as second place Peterborough United welcomes 7th place Portsmouth to London Road as both teams look to put their promotion back on track. Jack Cross has been previewing tomorrow's game.
Peterborough welcome Portsmouth to London Road. The 3 games in hand on lead welcome Portsmouth to London Road, knowing it is their first of 3 games in hand on leaders Hull, where they know they'll have to get a good result to start to close the gap on first place, and without winning 3 games with their recent 2 games ending in losses to Burton and Hull respectively, they'll definitely be looking to get back on track, especially at home. Their recent form could mainly be down to their top goal scorer Jonson Clark-Harris not finding the net in recent games, and he'll definitely be looking to rectify that tonight. Manager Darren Ferguson said despite recent results, he has been happy with their performances.
Right, obviously at top of the league, so it wasn't like it was a team that we were expected just to roll over. Our shape caused them all sorts of problems. I think that's an advantage we've got with the personnel we've got, with the way we work. An opposition team doesn't know whether it's going to be a back three or a back four. So I think it does help us. And I felt the game against Hull, we could be 3-0 up inside the first 15 minutes.
And as for Portsmouth, they come into this game without a manager, with Kenny Jackie leaving the club after almost 4 years in charge, shortly after their Papa John's Trophy final defeat to League Two Salford City on Saturday. The club have said that assistant manager Joe Gallen will take charge of the game, and this comes after a horrid run of results for the South Coast side, winning only one of their last 5 with defeats to promotion rivals Doncaster and Sunderland in that run. They now find themselves sitting in 7th place, 2 points off the playoffs with 6th place Ipswich above them, making this game even more important in their push for promotion come the end of the season. Club CEO Mark Catlin said they want to make a quick appointment but have to make it the correct one.
No, we want to make a quick appointment. Now, obviously, we have to look at a variety of different options, what managers are available now versus what managers are going to be available in the summer. And do we just get someone to get us to the end of the season where we can dust ourselves down and go again and start afresh?
So Portsmouth, obviously, tough game for them tomorrow, playing Peterborough, and we have a Portsmouth fan panelist. So Ryan Honey, do you think Portsmouth can win tomorrow?
Oh, his connection's gone. What a shame.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Difficulties. Well, we will have to go to Jacob Tanswell to talk about Portsmouth.
Well, I think the last 3 years they've just plateaued incredibly. Kenny Jackett came in 4 years ago. They got promotion for League Two, relatively smooth sailing, and since then they've just reached this level of just playoffs. And what happens is, he's back, so he can argue this with me. But what happens is after a couple of years, the team grows stale. They don't invest any money. They've lost their 2 best players over the last couple of years in Matt Clark and Jamal Lowe. And since then, I've been to watch Pompey a lot of times, and I look at Portsmouth and I don't see a clear identity. I think they've got players that probably have reached their ceiling. I think if they were to get promoted, they would be like Sheffield United in the Premier League, but comparing to the Championship. They've got no way of playing, as I said. They're sometimes direct, sometimes they pass it. And every time I do see them, they're always the inferior football inside. Obviously, Ryan Harney's got staunch loyalty to Portsmouth, so I'm sure he'll disagree. But I think Kenny Jackett has done a pretty good job to even get them into a playoff race, because when I look at them, they're lucky to even be surviving in that league.
Yeah, exactly. I would have to agree. Ryan, you might disagree though.
I'd agree in the fact that Jackett has done a decent enough job to really, stamp our mark down on the league. I mean, after getting promoted from League Two to League One, the ultimate goal was to solidify ourselves as a League One club, and we've done more than that. We are considered a promotion contender year in, year out. And although this season we are just outside the playoffs, I don't think anyone would bet against us getting promoted purely because of this reaction that could happen after Jackett has obviously been sacked. Obviously, it's a little bit different. Peterborough tomorrow night will be by no means an easy game. Off the back of 2 defeats, they come into this one, whereas we come into it off the back of 3, 4, 5, 6 defeats in the space of 3 or 4 weeks. So from a confidence point of view,
I think we've had some technical difficulties in the studio again with Ryan.
Is he back?
You back, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm back. Whereabouts did I get to?
Just about.
I was going to ask you about obviously the recent defeat in the final. If you want to speak about that. Do you hear me? In the EFL Trophy.
Is he there?
He don't want to talk about it. Don't blame him.
He pretends to be
No,
frozen.
no, sorry, you cut out there. What? Where did I get up to?
Salford.
Yeah, Salford.
Salford. Sorry. Okay.
You lost.
So, yeah. Obviously, Peterborough come into this one off the back of 2 defeats, Burton, and we come into it off the back of the Salford defeat in the EFL Trophy, Sunderland, Doncaster, Bristol Rovers, Blackpool. I mean, there's a number of defeats in an accumulation of 2, 3, 4 weeks. The confidence is shot to bits, understandably so. But I think there's just confusion as well. I mean, under Kenny Jackett, players were coming out saying the confidence has never been so high. But obviously that was a lie. And now we find ourselves managerless as we go into this game. And I mean, there's so much riding on it because a loss here really does paint a picture in terms of where do we go from here. Playoffs is more likely the realistic ambition for the end of this season, and whether we get there is another story. But the next permanent one in terms of the long term.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ryan. So it's very frustrating talking about Portsmouth losing. I'm sure it gets to you. But we will move swiftly onwards. So we now have another game to speak about in League One. We have Luke Wallace's package. Or Ollie, do you have the package for Port Vale Newport? Do you have the?
That's League 2 as well, by the way, mate.
That's what I meant. Yep.
Do you want me to send it to you again quickly?
Yeah. Perfect.
Just on Portsmouth, Ryan. If you're still there, obviously, how important is it to get that new manager straight away? Obviously, with a new manager, you get that new manager bounce, don't you? And if you get a run of form together, you can start pushing into playoffs.
I reckon he might be there. You might not want to answer.
No, I don't blame him. I've been ripping him about the Portsmouth Salford game for about 48 hours now. So
as you should. Ollie, do you have a preview for it, mate?
I did right when I think I wrote it straight in there, but I can give you a bit of a.
I reckon just have a speak to the fans at home.
Yes, no worries. So so Newport going away to Port Vale tomorrow night at Vale Park. It's probably another good performance for Newport needed, I think, because they've had a few away games. It's another chance to get some points on the board against a team who've really struggled this season. So yeah, interesting to see.
And here is the package from Ollie Johnson. Sorry about the delay, folks. The Wi-Fi is not great in my in the headquarters.
While you're trying to get Wolves have had a couple of wasted chances in the past 5 minutes. Traore's had a couple of few bad balls that probably could be made. So they've got the chance to create stuff, but not quite got the end product.
Here we have Ollie Johnson's preview for County versus Port Vale.
Newport County hope to extend their winning run tomorrow night with an away trip to Port Vale. Mike Flynn's side come into the game at Vale Park having won their last 3 games in the league, a run which has propelled them back into 4th in the League 2 table. County come into the game after a 3-1 victory against fellow promotion chasers Morecambe at the weekend, which included the now infamous goal from Kevin Ellison, who says he owed them one. Performances aside, Mike Flynn is impressed with the performance in away games, but this victory will certainly take the confidence into Tuesday's game, as the manager will say.
4 out of 5 games, yeah. Look, we'll just keep one at a time. They've got to be out of the way. The good thing is, after Tuesday, there's only 4 away games left. Yeah, well, listen, we just got to keep going and keep giving it our best shot and take every game one at a time.
In stark contrast, the hosts are currently in a diabolical run of form, which has seen them plummet down the table after failing to win any of their last 8 league games and having only won 1 of their last 12. That run has seen them fall from being comfortable in the mid-table all the way down to 21st and are now just 5 points above the relegation zone. New manager Darryl Clark is still without a win since taking over a month ago and has stressed that it is time to step up.
We've worked hard
worked well, should I say, out of possession of the ball against a possession-based team, not given many opportunities. But like I said, it's the other end, isn't it? We're having problems, and if you don't score goals, you don't win football matches.
Well, it's a big game for both teams at either end of the table here at Vale Park. Port Vale vs Newport County kicks off at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and I'll be here to keep you updated on all the action. Wolverhampton Wanderers look to push higher up the table.
Ollie, do you have any more comments you'd like to make on that game as you were covering it?
Yeah, it's been a weird one, especially for Port Vale. They've had 3 managers since January, and it's a team that have really, really struggled. They've won 3 games since November. So they could probably count themselves lucky that they're 5 points off relegation, because they could probably be rock bottom with the performances they've had. And that's not just down to like the manager was saying, attacking play, defensively doing poor as well. Really big issues at the club. I think Darryl Clark, he's still looking for a win.
Town.
He can get a win.
City on Tuesday.
Sorry, mate, carry on.
That's right, but Darryl Clark will be looking for his first win as Port Vale manager. Likewise, Mike Flynn, they've had a weird season, Newport. You look at their first 16 games of the league, they were first for pretty much all of them, and they only lost 2 games out of their first 16. Then for the next 14 or 15, they only won 2 games, and it was completely flipped on its head. Now, from being really promotion certs, they're again fighting a playoff battle when really it's probably flying high at the top of the league. So, and they've had like I said, they've had a couple of away games recently. Got some decent results. Again, Morecambe on Saturday, they got 3-1 away wins, which is a huge result. Morecambe were in the playoffs. So, you'd argue now against Port Vale, it's an important game to get 3 points on the board and push them back into automatic promotion spots.
Ollie, just on Newport, mate, how lucky are they to have a manager like Flynn? Because you've seen they've had them cup runs, and it's not the biggest club, is it, where you obviously live? And do you feel he will stay there for any longer term?
Yeah, and I think it's lucky because he's a local lad. He started his career at Newport, and like he was one of them players, probably a bit like Tony Pulis. They grew up in the same area, so you can imagine it, breeding managers sort of thing. But I think if they go up, I can imagine he'll stay. But if not, and there's probably a League One club looking for a new manager, I imagine he'll go because, like you said, their cup wins of the past 3-4 years has not only taken the club to like Wembley and some big stadiums to play some big teams, but the respect of the club around the country, and it's brought new fans in. And I know for a start, being from Newport, the amount of fans you see walking around now with Newport County shirts, which you wouldn't have done 5 years ago. And it's just been huge. And you can probably put that down to Mike Flynn, where they were in the end of the 2017 season, where they stayed up on the final day to then go on to challenge promotions in every season since. It's he's done a really good job there.
Definitely. So now we're going to move back to the Championship with Luton Town hosting Coventry tomorrow night. Luton need a win to move further up the table, and a win for City would pull them further away from the bottom 3. Liam Davies has more.
In a clash under the floodlights at the Kenilworth Road Stadium. Luton coming to this game off the back of 2 consecutive defeats, but although they came from high-flying Norwich and Swansea City, their confidence would have certainly taken a big hit. After their defeat on Saturday to Swansea, Luton boss Nathan Jones reflected on the game, pinpointing missed chances as their downfall.
Well, the reason we've ended up for nothing is 2 reasons. One, some people don't make the right decisions, and we've missed chances. We've missed chances that we should be scoring, but you have to score at this level. That they wouldn't be missing, and neither would your Norwiches and Brentfords and people like that.
With 3 defeats in their last 5 games, Coventry also come into this clash without any real form. However, their 1-0 win against Wayne Rooney's Derby on the weekend will fill them with confidence as they travel to South East London on Tuesday. Mark Robbins' men are looming dangerously close to the relegation zone. They're currently 20th, 6 points ahead of Rotherham, who still have 3 games in hand over the Sky Blues. Sports journalist Jonathan Baisley had this to say about the match on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Luton will just have enough, even though they're in bad form, to beat Coventry, who I still think do have the possibility of going down. But that would be the most entertaining affair. But there's definitely a lot riding on it for Coventry. So 3 points for them would be huge.
A win for City would be huge for their survival hopes, and a win for Town could see them jump 3 places up to 13th.
Solent Sports Journalism Podcast. Fantastic. So we're joined by Liam Davies. So Liam, Luton don't have much to play for coming into this game. Do you think this can have an effect on them?
Yeah, I think it'll certainly be playing a part, I think they're 12 points clear of the bottom three as it stands. So they're kind of in the middle of no man's land, I think it'd be fair to say. The playoffs are out of reach and they're reasonably safe from the bottom three. But they need to be careful. They can't let their minds wander, of course, because the minute they start going on a bad run, they could easily get drawn into this relegation fight. But I think they'll be fully focused come tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And obviously with their opponents, Coventry, been on a bad run of form recently, haven't they?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think they've only won 2 of the last 10. They've been struggling for consistency all season at both ends of the pitch. They've only kept 2 clean sheets in the last 10 as well. And they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the Championship, which in this league you can't get away with, as we all know. Anything could happen, but I think they'll be up for it tomorrow. They're on the back of a good win against Derby in the weekend. But they'll be up for it as well.
Yeah. And how do you think this game will go tomorrow?
It's a tough one. Like I said, it's a Championship. Anything could happen. Coventry coming in off the back of a good win. Luton were unlucky against Swansea in the weekend of their defeat. But I think Nathan Jones will get his side up for it. So I think Luton will take it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Liam. We'll join you again tomorrow.
Cheers, boys.
Good, mate. So, sorry, mate. Wolves have just had a fantastic chance. Really poor clearance by Nat Phillips, who thought a bit better of him. He's been really good this game. Picked out with Pedro Neto, played to Traore. Unfortunately, he was boxed in, but he took a shot away, just hit it straight at Alisson. It was a really powerful shot as well. Either side of him, that was straight in. But yeah, really good opportunity.
Speaking of Nat Phillips, he's been quite a good signing for Liverpool. I don't know if you saw him against Leipzig. He's a bit of a brick wall at the back. Obviously, he came in. No one really expected him to do that well. Do you know much about him?
Well, he was on loan in Germany, wasn't he? And I think his dad used to be a footballer as well. And I know he was really highly rated in the Liverpool Academy. So I think especially this season with the injuries they've had, he's definitely had to step up to the plate. And I think it's, with the performances he's had, like I said, against Leipzig and playing in the Champions League, it's a big step up, but he certainly earned his stripes, I think. But, you can't knock him based on one mistake. And, he did really well, to be fair. He was straight into box Traore then. So he did really well to recover.
I think it was quite common knowledge that before Liverpool had their injury problems, that he was actually on his way to Swansea, wasn't he, Ollie? I think there was a...
Yeah, I think he was going to be... I don't think he was meant to be a permanent transfer. I think it was meant to be maybe a loan signing.
I think it was a loan to buy one. So, and is he 23 now? So he's
quite late started playing in the pro game.
Yeah, and obviously centre back doesn't, they don't come on till they're later on in their career usually, but it just shows that if there are injuries, he can capitalise on them. And now he's getting a run of games. He probably won't be a first choice for Liverpool, throughout his career. But if he can make an impact, then he can show that he is Premier League level, and he probably can have a better career than what they thought at the start of the season.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing for all parties. I mean, Matt Phillips is getting the experience and the confidence he needs to develop his game, also to push for a place in the Liverpool team. He might not necessarily get, I think, when all players are fit.
No.
He start, probably not. But, you look at Jurgen Klopp, then he thinks, well, I've got a solid centre-back there that I can bring in if I need to, and he can do a job for you. And like I said, he's been really well this game. It was only that one mistake that he recovered and probably stopped Traore from scoring.
You've got to think as well that he's playing with an inconsistent backline, isn't he? Say if he had likes of Joe Gomez or Virgil van Dijk next to him, his levels would probably only elevate, wouldn't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. And I think there's a lot we can see from him. Like I said, he's probably quite a late starter. He's only really started playing professionally or first team football rather in the past year or so. But there's a lot. I think there's a lot to see from him now, especially in the end of the season. See if he can get consistent games for Liverpool and maybe see where he goes next year.
Yeah, definitely be moulded a lot better under Van Dijk when he is back. So now we're going to move back to League One with a bit of a relegation scrap between AFC Wimbledon and Wigan. We have a preview from Luke Hammond. Here it is.
Wimbledon versus Wigan Athletic. former role players of the top division in English football, now come head-to-head in a fight for survival at the bottom of League One. Wimbledon come into the game low on confidence after being winless in their last 5 games. A 0-0 draw with Bristol Rovers in their last fixture means manager Mark Robinson will demand a reaction from the side that sit rock bottom of the division. But this will be tough, as Wimbledon have failed to score in 8 of their last 13 league games. Robinson had mixed opinions on his side's last game against Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, if we get a win on Tuesday, I think it's a point gained. There was certainly things to be pleased about again. First half, I thought we pretty much controlled the half in lots of ways. Again, didn't offer enough of a threat, and that's what we talked about at half time.
Wigan can feel more confident moving into this one. Although they sit 21st in the league, they've won 3 of their last 5 games, pushing them 2 points clear of the 3 teams below, which includes AFC Wimbledon. Their previous game saw them grab a well-deserved 2-0 win against Plymouth, which pushed them just above the relegation zone. Wigan Fan TV were pleased with their previous win against Plymouth.
A good game tonight. Obviously, Evans returning to the side was a massive boost for all of us. I think it also benefited Massey today, who I have to say played very well. I'm saying this because now there are 2 outfield players together from the 1920 team, which certainly has to lift spirits knowing that there are still quality players about.
The head-to-head matchup tells a different story, as both teams have won 1 each, with both wins coming away from home. Wigan travelled to Plough Lane for this one. Wimbledon fans helped move back to their old home, which hasn't proven to be the fortress they expected. Wigan will look to jump on Wimbledon's poor form, but currently sit on 2 consecutive wins. They haven't managed 3 wins in a row in 28 games of League One football. This should be a relegation scrap both teams can look forward to, knowing a win would be a huge momentum booster in the battle to stay in the division.
A bit of music again, keep everyone awake. So we're joined with Luke Hammond. So obviously both teams will be needing 3 points, more so Wimbledon. But obviously the gap at the bottom is quite tight, so either team could still avoid relegation. What do you think happens tomorrow night, Luke?
Yeah, I think this is Wigan for me. Wimbledon are in a hole here. They haven't scored in 8 of their last 13 games. And Wigan have been playing well. They've won 3 of their last 5. And the group of players really like they're playing for the manager. They're chasing after every ball. There's no dog legs here. But obviously the whole story of the season has been about the administration, and they're kind of just trying to hold on until the person takes over and they can pump money in and rebuild. But this is definitely Wigan for me, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Wimbledon have any chance of surviving? They're not too far off the relegation zone.
Nah, I don't really. I think teams around them are capable of pulling out wins against the middle team clubs. Swindon do that quite often, but no, I do think Wimbledon will go down this season. I think Wigan are good enough to stay up.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you very much, Luke.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate. Nice one. We're going to go straight to Ollie Johnson, as there has been a chance at Molineux.
Yeah, pretty much similar to the Conor Cody chance about half an hour ago, except this time it was Nelson Semedo whipping the ball in. Oh, that's a great chance by Liverpool's Jota. I'll come to that in a minute. But Nelson Semedo whipped the ball in. Fabio Silva, the young substitute, comes on. Similar again, but heads it straight into Alisson. This time, Liverpool down the other end. Former Wolves player Jota, powerful strike just straight at Rui Patricio in goal. Still 1-0, 10 minutes to go.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you if we hear anything else. So now we have our only National League game being covered by one of our reporters tomorrow. So we step into the National League as playoff hopefuls Chesterfield host league leaders Sutton United. Sutton are looking to extend their 8-game unbeaten run as they try to cement their place at the top of the table. But they meet a Chesterfield team that have been in excellent form at home, winning their last 7 games at the Technic Stadium. Here's Hayden Baker with the preview. I think we've lost one of our panellists, unfortunately. I don't think the headquarters Wi-Fi was working over there.
I think it was all that pumpy chat.
We couldn't handle it. Right, so here is Hayden Baker's preview.
It's a big game for the National League's promotion race tomorrow night, as league leaders Sutton United visit playoff hopefuls Chesterfield.
Eastman again, headed down. It's Eastman, no, it's Wilson. It falls to Beautyman, and he smashes it into the net, and it's 2-1 Sutton.
Sutton come into this game looking to build on their 8-game unbeaten run that's featured 7 wins, hoping to increase their 4-point lead at the top of the National League table. It hasn't been smooth sailing for United heading into this game. Injuries meant that they were without key players David Jaboy, Isaac Olafay and Reece Brown for their tough 1-0 win at Kings Lynn this weekend. However, manager Matt Gray is hopeful to see them back for tomorrow's game.
Those three, unfortunately, were not fit to travel, and I don't think all three of them, they're not going to be long term. But Tuesday, it's touch and go, I'd say, for Tuesday. So hopefully they're not going to be out for weeks to come. But we'll see how they are when we get back in Monday and see what they've done, the treatment and the rest over the weekend.
They face a difficult opponent in Chesterfield, looking to bounce back from a disappointing 2-0 defeat to Maidenhead this weekend. It was only James Rowe's third defeat since his appointment as manager in November. He's helped see the Sparrites push away from their relegation issues that have plagued them ever since arriving in the National League, and has them looking up towards the top end of the table for the very first time.
Whittle went on the overlap. Whelan's shot!
What a strike,
oh,
what a
great goal from Tom Whelan.
What a strike, what a goal.
Chesterfield have a 2-goal lead now, and Tom Whelan scores after 68
Despite
minutes.
sitting 14th in the league, really Chesterfield find themselves only 4 points behind Halifax in 7th, the final playoff spot with plenty of games still to play. Manager James Rowe is hoping his team can seize the opportunity.
There's a real togetherness and we know where we are, and there's going to be blips, there's going to be adversity, because I'm only 17 weeks into the tenure. We've got to be realistic about this. It's going well. Yes, a blip on Saturday. Can we get back on it tomorrow evening? And that's the challenge against the league leaders. And what a better game to play than to get back going against the team everyone's chasing.
Chesterfield will be boosted by the return of midfielders Curtis Weston and Joe Rowley for this one, while Sutton United are still unsure about the returns of David Jaboy, Isaac Olafay and Reece Brown. Despite how good Sutton have been so far this season, these key injuries could play a big part in this one, not to mention the fact that Chesterfield did defeat them early this season in James Rowe's second game in charge. They've also never actually won away to Chesterfield in their entire history. Despite the stage of the season we're at, it's clearly a game with a lot on the line for both these sides, and it should be an intriguing game.
Harry, mate, you're on mute.
I am on mute. So we're joined with Hayden Baker. So Hayden, obviously with Sutton sitting in first place, do you fancy them for tomorrow?
Do you know, it's a difficult one to call this one. Although Sutton have been excellent lately, 8 games unbeaten, as I said earlier, 7 wins in that run of games, and they've looked the best side in the league so far. That record for Chesterfield at home really does speak for itself, and Chesterfield's always had a little bit over Sutton as well, even prior to this season before. Their long-serving manager, although his name does slip me, it was his last game in charge when they lost 3-0 at Chesterfield. So it's a bit of a haunted ground almost for Sutton. So I really do think this is a game that could go either way. And to be honest, a league that's really open, as it normally is this season, with Chesterfield looking to kick on and get back into the Football League, where they'll probably feel like they belong.
Yeah, so it's one of the good things about the National League, how close the entire league is. So you can be sat in 10th, but still be obviously really, really close to the playoffs. With Chesterfield obviously sat 14th, like you say, quite close to the playoffs still. Do you think they can get there?
Do you know? Yeah, I think they could. Their form ever since Rowe's come in has really improved. Considering ever since they've been in the conference or the National League, I should say, they've really struggled. They've been towards the bottom of the league pretty often. But I think the way they've kind of progressed on them, I think it's a 65% win record with Rowe in charge. So definitely a big improvement for them. And I think they could kick on. I think they really could push for that at least 7th place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Hayden.
Nice one. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, we're going to go to Ollie Johnson now to speak about the Liverpool Wolves game.
Yeah, no, it's been honestly, mate, it's been a very good game of football. Even though it's only 1-0, there's been chances at both ends. Every time I look, there's balls at either end. It's hard to call. Salah just scored but was ruled offside, so it nearly doubled the lead. But a few minutes before, Morgan Gibbs-White, who was on loan at Swansea during the first part of the season, but got called back because he was injured. He went on a really good run but was tackled again by that man, Nat Phillips. So very much proving his worth, the young centre-back.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll go back to you if anything else happens. Now, I wanted to talk to you, Jacob, about the FA Cup. Southampton travelled to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, what do you think Saints' chances are like there?
I think it offers good respite for Southampton to get away from the rigours of Premier League football. You've seen that this year. I think Southampton's Premier League performances have been in complete contrast to the FA Cup. You see, they beat Arsenal at the start of the year in the FA Cup, then lost to Arsenal in the next game. Did the same with Wolves in February. So it offers Southampton something. It gives them something to play for come the end of the season, perhaps. And obviously going to Bournemouth, you'd probably say that's the most favourable quarter-final tie they could get. Mm-hmm. I understand both teams aren't in great form, but you would rather have Bournemouth now than Manchester United, especially after what happened the last time Southampton met Manchester United. So I think it gives them a really good opportunity, offers great respite, and I think they should go there thinking we could get to Wembley. It's a really good opportunity.
The only thing I've been thinking of is, if you remember the season when we got to the League Cup final against Man United, Southampton kind of sacked off the league and just left it. We're going to Wembley, so it doesn't matter. Do you have a fear of that happening this season, that we're kind of just leaving the league to it?
I think they could have done that in that season because they were 8th in the league or something under Claude Puel, so they had no danger of going down. And but this year, you obviously know that Southampton are in real danger of getting dragged back into that relegation scrap, and so I don't think there's any fear of that happening. I think you could see, the year after that, when Mark Hughes at Southampton did actually reach the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, where they lost to Chelsea, and that was, that didn't do Mark Hughes any favours because he wanted to focus on the relegation, on survival. And although a trip to Wembley was nice for the fans, Southampton really didn't go there with any ambition. So it's a balancing act for Hasenhüttl, but I think considering that Southampton have had a couple of years of just doing absolutely nothing, I think going to Wembley and just putting your name in the hat for the FA Cup, it is a real good positive for fans.
Definitely, yeah, it's definitely a good chance for Southampton fans to put a pretty poor season behind them. If you can get to Wembley and even win a bit of silverware, it does obviously boost the entire season. And it's been a bit unlucky, Ralph. Obviously 2 9-0 losses in 2 seasons, but that doesn't really reflect on how good of a manager he is, does it?
No, but you think any other club, if I said to you, hey, there's going to be a manager that's going to lose 9-0 twice, you think, how is he still in a job? But I think it goes to show that there are mitigating factors, injuries, COVID, a lack of pre-season, a small squad, an owner that doesn't spend any money. They're all the factors that are working against Real Hasenhüttl at the moment. And whatever happens this season and, in the break, remains to be seen. But this does give Ralph Hasenhüttl a great opportunity to do something because it's been a tough period for him, hasn't it? So if he can get that win at Bournemouth, it might just relieve the pressure.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. He does need this win, obviously winless and a few games now. Definitely needs the win. And we're going to go to Ollie now to speak about Chelsea versus Sheffield United. Obviously, Sheffield United doing extremely poorly in the league, but could provide their fans with a bit of a FA Cup run.
They might do a Wigan and win the cup and get playing in Europe in the Championship. Yeah, why not? I think the only issue now is without a manager. I think they've got an injury, and I think they need to get a manager now. And it sounds daft, but it's probably the right time for Wilder to go because it gives whoever comes in next enough time to maybe solidify a place in the dressing room and get the respect of the players. Hopefully, do their best to get them out of trouble. The last part of the season. But yeah, I think it's probably all they've got going for them at the minute in the Cup, Sheffield United, for me.
Yeah, I've got a very unhappy teacher with Sheffield United.
They're as good as gone, though, aren't they, Sheffield United? I wouldn't be surprised on it, actually, if they didn't appoint anyone till the end of the season, because I think they even know themselves they're gone. So I think all attentions now need to turn to planning for life in the Championship. So if they can perhaps get their managerial search right come the end of the season, then that'll be far more beneficial than trying to survive when we all know there's very little hope of it actually happening.
Unfortunately, it's very true. And we'll stick with the FA Cup. Another quarter-final, quite a tasty game with two teams that are also battling out pretty much next to each other. Leicester, Man United, Jacob.
Yes, very good tie. I think Man United have had really difficult ties, haven't they? You think in Europa League they've had AC Milan in the last 16, and now Leicester. I think this is probably the pick of them. A very well matched team. You could argue Leicester probably the more balanced. United have got a lot more, holes in that team, but I think it's whoever turns up on the day, whoever really thinks that this is a really good opportunity of getting silver. And for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who hasn't had anything yet, for a club like Manchester United who have gone 3 years without any silverware, this is a really, really good opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with Leicester being knocked out of the Europa League, a trophy, a competition that a lot of people did think Leicester would go far. This probably is now the FA Cup they do need to really try for, as the silverware probably won't come this season, obviously with City running away with it. And we also have another great game in the FA Cup, Everton, Man City. Obviously, City are looking to win everything possible as they do every year. But do you think Everton can stop them, Ollie?
They've had a good season, Everton, really. They certainly had a really good start to this season. They've got good players. And I think, getting Ancelotti in last season was probably one of the best managerial appointments. We can class Everton, they're a big side, but they're not what we argue, to be challenging top six every season. Somebody like Ancelotti can get that for them. And like I said, he's probably the person who attracted the likes of James Rodriguez there in the summer. And look how good he's been. I don't see why not. But again, City look to win everything, don't they? And why not? As they've got. So
yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if City do go and win a few trophies this year. Has anything happened in the Liverpool game?
Unfortunately, it looks like another head injury for Wolves. Rui Patricio, I didn't see what's happened. They haven't showed any replays and they're not doing any close-ups on him. But he's been down for probably 8 minutes now. So it looks going to be a rare appearance for John Reddy, who's warming up. But doesn't look good. From what I saw, they were holding his head in place. I think it could be a spinal injury. It could just be a regular head injury again, unfortunately. But his play's still been stopped. It says plus 7 minutes, but he'll be well beyond that now. Let you know, to be still on the floor.
Yeah. Well, we hope Rui Patricio is all right. Obviously, great keeper, and probably would be the starting keeper for Portugal, who have now a very, very serious side for Euro 2021. Do you think they have a good chance of winning it, Jacob?
I think the question is how do you fit them all into a system that actually works and gets the best out of every single player. You think obviously we can go through them if you want. Jota, who's playing tonight, Bruno Fernandes, Felix, Ronaldo. How are you going to get that team, to function correctly? You probably say they're a little bit top half heavy.
Yeah.
At the back, they've still got Jose Font, who's he's a very good player, but is he the quality you need to win a European Championship 5 years after winning the first one? That remains to be seen, but I think they've got a really good team, and it's up to the manager now to somehow find a way of them. Exactly.
Yeah, you even left out Bernardo Silva as well. Great.
Bernardo.
Too many to count. Yeah, definitely. So, if you compare it to I think Euro 2016 team, it's just come on absolute leaps and bounds. It was pretty much only Ronaldo in the last tournament, and now you look at them. 2018, but yeah, definitely. We're going to turn our attention to the Serie A for now. So Inter Milan obviously leading their rivals AC Milan, but Juventus have been on good form recently. Ronaldo scoring a hat trick. Have you boys been keeping up to date with the Serie A?
Yes. It's quite refreshing to see, isn't it, Harry? That Juventus aren't just running away with it every year. I think since they got rid of Allegri, the whole point was they were winning the Serie A easily. They just wanted to now improve in the Champions League. And in fact, since Allegri's gone, they've kind of gone in reverse, haven't they? The league's got tighter. They're performing far worse in the Champions League. So it's really good to see that the likes of AC Milan and Inter Milan, who have been sleeping giants for the last decade, are making a resurgence.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Inter Milan did extend their lead at the top with a goal from Lukaku and Martinez. Ollie, did you see Martinez's comment on Lukaku, calling him the best striker in the world at the moment?
No, I didn't. But he's always been a good striker. I don't think argue against that. He was, I think he was still in school making his debut for back in Belgium. I don't care who you are. If you're making your debut when you're still in school, you're doing something right, aren't you? So
yeah, definitely.
I don't know if he's probably the best. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's the best striker in the world, but he'd probably be up there on recent form. You know, he's definitely doing very well since he's been to Inter.
Underrated, definitely.
Yeah, and it's not even like I don't even think he was that bad at United, but I just think
strange signing, strange selling him, because if you consider that even till now they pretty much Cavani's the replacement for him, and that's what, like 3-4 years later, because he was their only striker unless you count Martial, but he's a bit more of a winger now, so haven't really replaced him, which could be, you know, the reason they've not been doing well, and now they've got out and out striker.
Yeah, it's got a striker that Man United haven't necessarily always gone for. You know, the sort of big sort of centre forward. They've always had sort of Wayne Rooney's probably a little bit shorter with somebody like Ronaldo on the wing. Tevez, you know, somebody like that. Rashford in recent years, they've created a bit more. So it's probably maybe the wrong player for the team, because that's not usually the way they play. But I think now he's gone to Italy, he's just been different level again. So he's really showing his worth, and maybe Inter can do something really special this year again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, what's happened with the Liverpool Wolves game, Ollie?
It's gone beyond the added time minutes, and Patricio is still on the floor.
He's still down. Wow.
It must be about 15 minutes now. He's been down, so yeah. It doesn't look good, and then like I said, they're hardly showing it. So I haven't got the sound on, so I couldn't tell you what happened or anything. But
yeah. Well, all of us here at Solent Sports News, we send our condolences to Patricio, and we hope he's all right. Just never want to see that, especially with what's happened to Jimenez if it's a head injury. But I'm sure he'll be looked after well at Wolves.
Yeah, the Sky Sports cameras did a zoom in onto Jimenez. You could see the scar down the side of his head. So they're obviously making a point. There's like maybe even a head injury or.
Yeah. No, you don't like to see that at all. But we'll move on to the La Liga. Something that always puzzled me at the start of the season was Barcelona selling Luis Suarez when he's still arguably at his peak, and has shown that he is still at his peak, moving to Atletico, and now they're top of the league. Jacob, do you think it was a bit of a silly thing selling Suarez?
Short term, yes, but I think if you look at the longer term, no, because let's have it right here. Barcelona are in an absolute mess financially, over £1 billion in debt. A group of players are aging rapidly. You see that in the last couple of Champions League exits. They're getting overwhelmed by the likes of Liverpool and Roma in second legs. The hierarchy's been a mess. Obviously, there's been a new president announced last week, Juan Laporta, so he could kind of come in and troubleshoot that club, but they don't know where they're really going at the moment. Luis Suarez, going back to your point, he did show signs last year that he was kind of declining. Obviously, at Atletico Madrid, who play a different system, who get players more direct, more physical, it probably suits them a little bit better. But they do need an overhaul of that whole squad. So Luis Suarez was the start, and I fully expect this season the likes of Sergio Busquets, Gerald Piqué to be the next casualties from that side.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely need to invest. It is obviously a very aging squad, and it was very sad to see. It's the first time since 2005 that the champions this stage of the Champions League hasn't featured Messi or Ronaldo. The two obviously new boys, Mbappe and Haaland, both into the next round of the Champions League. Ollie, do you fancy either of them to go on and can do what Messi or Ronaldo have done in the Champions League?
Well, I mean, both of them are probably exceeding expectations that they probably set themselves. You know, both players have played from a very young age, you know, sort of 16, 17. And you look how young they are and just dominating the sport. You know, Mbappe was playing in World Cup finals and being the best player there at 19. You know, it's unbelievable. And I think there's a lot. I think we've probably seen, you know, a glimpse of what he can do. And I think there's only so much you can do at a team like PSG. You know, you've got good players around you, yes, but the competition isn't going to be anywhere near as good as it probably would be in other European leagues, especially the Premier League. You know how competitive it is. So
do you think if Mbappe does move to a different league, say a harder league, then he would potentially be more likely for a Ballon d'Or?
I think if he could go and do it, like if he scores multiple goals, he scores a lot of weekends, then he scores multiple goals a season. If you could do that in other leagues, like Ronaldo has done or something, then you probably put him in that bracket. I think it's hard to say because players like them only come around once in a generation.
Yeah.
Once in this case. And I think Haaland as well, he's again only very young and look what he's doing. He's the best player on the pitch. So it's unbelievable.
Touching on the comparisons to Messi and Ronaldo, I think it's very unfair to even compare them to Mbappe and Haaland because let's be honest, Messi and Ronaldo, I don't think it's very unlikely that anyone will ever eclipse their achievements, their performances week in, week out. We say they're once in a generation. I think they're probably, the two of the greatest players ever. So, we can't just from now on keep comparing all the next generation up to Messi and Ronaldo standards because that's be very unfair on them. I think they'll be world-class players. Will they ever get to the legendary status? It remains to be seen. But we just need to, you can't always compare them to Messi and Ronaldo because them two are just, in their own universe.
Yeah, definitely in their own world. Yeah, to be unlikely to see anything of their standard again, but see, we can hope. Ollie, is there any more update on the injury?
No, he has gone off. He went off about 98 minutes now. So I don't know how much time we're going to be playing here, but I know we're on to 102 minutes, and I couldn't tell you because he was down for a long time.
Yeah, no worries. Are Wolves looking likely to get an equaliser?
Not at the minute because Liverpool have a free kick just out on the right-hand side of Wolves' box, so it's probably a good opportunity. Nat Phillips is up. So I don't know, they're going to target him. He probably looks like the biggest player there. No, it went to, was that kid? No, it was Oxlade-Chamberlain, was it? Yeah, Oxlade-Chamberlain headed it on. Couldn't quite find Kabak at the end. So, no, good opportunity, but again, good defence by Wolves. It's been a good game. You could have called it either way all through the game. But it's probably just the irony of Jota scoring.
Yeah, at least it's not a proper boring 1-0. Which is good.
It's been a very good game.
Yeah. As we're just wrapping up the show, just waiting for the Wolves-Liverpool game to finish. Do you boys have anything you'd like to discuss? Anything jumping out?
Nothing at the moment. All I'd say is, who do you think the third team will be to go down? Because we can say Sheffield United and West Brom. Sorry, Will, but they're gone, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're already in a championship as far as I'm concerned. Who's the third team going to be?
I would say Fulham at the start of the season. I think Jamie Carragher said that he said he would take their owner out for a dinner if Fulham did manage to stay up, which is actually looking more likely because Scott Parker is a very good manager. And if you look at their team on paper, it's actually got a lot of talent on it. And they have picked up some good results recently. So I'd probably say Fulham, maybe. Ollie, who would you say?
I think Fulham might do it. I'm still thinking Newcastle, to be honest. I think they're in deep trouble at the minute. But again, it's a long way to go, and I generally think it'll go right to the end. But Newcastle for me, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be between Newcastle and Fulham. I think Brighton have a bit too much quality, and Burnley, I don't think Sean Dyche knows how to get relegated, if I'm honest. So I don't think it'd be them. Jacob, would you agree?
I would absolutely love Burnley to get relegated. They're an absolute eyesore, aren't they? Just every time you watch them, there's more throw-ins than there is actually ball on the pitch. I actually think Newcastle probably get relegated purely because they haven't got their fans with them. It doesn't take a lot for things to go quickly downhill at Newcastle, especially with their fan base who've been so expectant. So I think they're going to probably stick with Steve Bruce as well throughout this season, even if they are in trouble. So I say Newcastle.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think it'd be pretty much nailed on. If you're going to put a bet on it, Newcastle or Fulham, really. It'd be nice to see Fulham do well. Scott Parker's he's a good manager, and it'd be nice to see him do well.
Very good manager.
Young English manager. There aren't many at the moment. So, great question, Jacob.
I've got one for you, Harry. What do you think about the current changing of more moving to zonal marking as opposed to man marking from corners? Because you saw yesterday Southampton, they tried a hybrid of it and it didn't work. What would you prefer?
Well, I don't understand zonal, because all you're doing is standing there waiting for someone who's potentially 6'6" coming, having a run on you, and then hitting the ball. And all you do is you can only jump in a straight line vertically, and I don't see why you would ever do zonal, especially with players like Vestergaard and like Bednarak, who are very good at attacking the ball. It's just a strange system to play. You probably agree with the not going for zonal. I don't think it's a great idea.
I don't get it, as you say, because the opposition they've got the momentum, haven't they? They're running towards the goal, and unless you have a really tall group of players, then it's going to be very difficult to make sure you can cover every single aspect of the box.
Yeah. Well, I just mark up and get tight.
Take personal responsibility. Yeah.
Because it ends up you can end up having like Dan Burn on Carl Walker-Peters, and it's just how have we let that mismatch happen? But there you go. Ralph knows what he's doing, and Ralph we trust.
Ollie, anything happening, mate?
Yeah, Wolves are in Liverpool's box. Great run by Traore's final ball was absolutely atrocious. Now Wolves are camped in Liverpool's box now. I'm just waiting to see if I bet they're going to score now. That's a good ball. No, good defence. Good. Naby Keita's headed it away. No, it's still in play.
Ollie, you could go viral if there's a mad goal there.
Oh, rubbish ball. Like that. To be fair, other than Nelson Semedo, their final balls into the box have been pretty rubbish by Wolves. I think that's what's let them down here. But no, that's it. Game over. 1-0 Liverpool.
Perfect. Great result for Liverpool. They did need that very much to get them back up to where they should be.
Just needed to grind that out, didn't they?
They did. And obviously we wish Rui Patricio all the best. Okay, well, thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Ollie, for tonight. And thank you, Ryan. Been excellent on the panel tonight. That's been us at Solent Sports News. Tune in tomorrow night from 7:30 p.m. for another show. Thank you.